Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to the Random Show with your lovely and illustrious host, Agostinho Zinga. I know it's been a while. This is a bit of a late one, impromptu, because I saw my boy Coiler in the fucking Discord calling me out. Talking about whatever, how I've been away and stuff, and I saw my girl Uche send me a DM wondering where I've been. So hey, here I am reporting in, making sure you guys are aware that I've not gone missing. I'm not dead. I'm actually alive and kicking. I think so for the most part. And yeah, just a quick little stream to just jump in there and make sure you guys know that I'm alive. We're not going to stay super long, try and top up to about 2 hours or whatnot, and then I'm going to be off doing my thing. But I thought I'd just update you quickly and obviously catch up on some stuff that may have happened that you guys don't know what's going on. Anyway, so let's do this. What was I going to say? Yeah, Uche, whatever you say, whatever. We know Wagwan. You know what I mean? People just out here checking my temperature, making sure I hadn't I had an Amy Winehouse myself. I had an Amy Winehouse myself. But I'm good. Quickly. Let's get through this. Don't want to waste too much more of your time because I gotta run through bare shit. All right. Number one thing, I don't know if you guys give a shit about this girl or you care about the whole thing around it, but I gotta give a big shout out to SEXXY Red. Not the biggest fan of her music. Think the voice is a little bit unbearable. Not sure if I can listen to a full album of her stuff, but it's quite refreshing, really refreshing to see somebody actually working from the ground up. Don't know if you've seen it, but she's basically been doing, I don't know, a million fucking random gigs in places. She's going to high schools. Now I think she's going to like college frat party things with this video here playing in the back. I'm not going to play it because it's got like, I'm not going to play the audio because it's got loads of copyrighted music on it, but I'll just play it in the background so you could see. But she basically goes to attend a fucking, college frat party thing. And essentially, it's something that you don't see a lot of like artists doing nowadays, and just people in general. I feel like everybody's trying to like fake it till they make it. No one wants to appear like they're an up and coming artist. No one wants to do what up and coming artists should be doing, which is what she's doing, right? Shaking hands, kissing babies, meeting people where they're at this sort of level and building like long lasting bonds. Like I'm sure all these people who saw SEXXY Red at this event are going to be fans of hers for life because she jammed. She was here doing fucking, she was doing bong rips, whatever, drinking beer, playing fucking beer pong and all this malarkey and performing for them in a really small venue somewhere, right? And having a blast while doing it. And I'm sure that's going to go a long way in terms of kind of solidifying the fan base. So I wonder why more people don't do this sort of approach, because if anything, this guarantees you have a long career. Maybe she doesn't make music until she's 60, but it still means you're going to be decent, enough to, you're going to have enough of a following that people are going to just want to see you out and about. They're going to want to just, see you do shows. They're going to support everything that you kind of do going forward in the long term. So big up SEXXY Red herself for being, I think, humble enough to like do this grind, because I think sometimes creatives' egos can get in the way. You can maybe feel like, oh, I'm too big for this sort of shit. And also big up her team for maybe just deciding to do it this way, to do it the slow, steady way, build up an actual fan base and then move on from that way. Because I think that's one thing I kind of rate about Ice Spice a little bit. Even though she was a bit of a meme when she started, like she's actually got fans. A lot of these other girls, I feel like, don't have like fans of their music. They're fans of who they are as like sexy girls and stuff, which is quite hard, because I understand with women in music it's a bit difficult, because if you look attractive, it's hard to separate that from your image. You kind of want to play into it because people are going to have eyes on you. But if you play into it too much, people just know you as the IG baddie and not as a person that makes amazing music. So you kind of have to kind of play it at the same time. And I think SEXXY Red is doing it exactly the way you meant to do it. So big up her. And, having watched her interview with Lil Yachty as well, I really enjoyed that too. I don't know, maybe because I'm a huge personality person mostly. I always go off people's vibes. So when you see somebody that's definitely got like a good vibe, nice chill person, good hang, especially for a woman, which is sometimes difficult around guys to kind of have a personality that can kind of click with dudes but also not appear like you're hungry. It's a hard balance to kind of make, and she kind of does it really well. She's like the best mixture I could find between a tomboy and a girl's girl. Like that's what Sexy Red gives to me, like the best combination of both of those sort of things. Because usually tomboy type of girls who like say, I don't really have any female friends, they're usually the ones that are also super slags, right? The kind of those ones are like, you know, the ones who literally you don't want to leave them alone in a room with your boyfriend because they may actually steal your boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like those girls are really crazy. So I like the mix that she has of being like a girl's girl and also knowing how to hang out with the fellas and not be like the, you know, not have a train run on her in that respect. You know what I mean? Because she messes with some, by all accounts, of some real niggas. You know what I mean? So big up Sexy Red for that one. Moving on, talk about this because I mentioned this before in the Discord, but I have to say, I think this whole Dillon DANIS constant trolling of Logan Paul's fiance and the reactions to it online have really kind of illuminated me in terms of my understanding of what other men sort of like think is what other men expect in women in general, right? And their ideas of relationships and sex and all that malarkey and company. It's really, really, it's interesting just to kind of analyze, because I feel like I'm not really on that kind of wave, maybe because I'm a bit of a weirdo, who knows, but it's very different to how people feel. So people are looking at this video that Dillon DANIS uploaded, right? And they are very, very shocked at what she had to say, and I guess some of them are of the thinking that Logan should call off the engagement, cancel the wedding, because his wife-to-be said this a very long time ago.
By the way, I'm very proud of myself. This is the longest I've ever gone without sex since I started. Obviously, it's driving me crazy. I am struggling. I need penis inside of me. ASAP. Like, all I want is like a big fat sausage just destroying my body. So,
don't get me wrong. I get. What was that?
So if any of you guys know a good dick that doesn't have STDs on it, I'll take it. Right here. By the way, I'm very proud of myself.
I'm not gonna lie. Her saying I'll take it right here in the hand made me legitimately laugh. Like, I'll take it right. That made me laugh. Anyway, first of all, I don't really understand the outrage. On my life, I don't understand the outrage. Like, I don't really understand, because I think maybe because I'm being too, I don't know, I'm being too like common sense with it. Maybe I should just be thinking about it more so in like, oh my God, you know, I want 100 virgins type of way. But what do people actually expect? Like, legit, like, what do they expect? Like, she's, from what I've been reading online, she's a legit supermodel. Maybe she's not anymore, but she was a legit Victoria's Secret supermodel. At one point in modeling, outside of like runway models, because runway modeling has turned into a whole nother thing now. It's not really what it was in terms of having like the most, you know, freakishly good looking, super tall women on the runway. It's now become a whole different thing. It's not really about that conventional beauty sort of thing. But back in the day when conventional beauty was kind of the thing, right? She was one of those Victoria's Secret models. And Victoria's Secret models, for the most part, are usually just, you know, what most men would say they're into. Tall, skinny, white women, for the most part, who are like brunette or blonde. And usually those women are like, you know, the top of the top in terms of like looks wise in that kind of field. So you'd imagine most white dudes would be into a girl that looks like that. Or most guys in general. I'm not supposed to say white dudes. Most guys in general would be into a girl that looks like that. Cool. If that's the case, what do you expect for that girl like that to, like, what do you expect from her then? Do you expect her to be a virgin? Do you expect a Victoria's Secret supermodel that looks the way that she does and that most guys are into? Clearly, because of the pictures that Dillon DANIS is uploading, she's not struggling for men either, right? Men clearly like her. She clearly likes men. What do you expect is going to happen in that case? Do you expect her to be like a virgin until the day Logan meets her? I'm really confused. It really is perplexing to find out. And also, like, the whole like bodies thing is an interesting topic to get into, because what's the magic number of bodies that makes it acceptable? Like, what are guys expecting? Like, if you meet a woman in her late 20s, because I think this girl might be 29, 30, or maybe younger. If you meet a woman between the age of 20, I don't know, 25 and 35, how many bodies is a good amount for you to say, yeah, I'm happy to make this person my wife and have, you know, be the mother of my children? What's going to be an acceptable amount for you? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it less than 5? Is it like, what's the actual number? It doesn't make any sense. And also, like how about if she's one of those people who like only lost her virginity really late? Like imagine if you lost your virginity at like 19. No, let's say later. Let's say like 25, right? And then you had like a string of like, you know, back-to-back bodies, quote unquote, right? You was a bit of a city girl, and then you meet somebody who you want to settle down with. Just because she had a stretch of 5 years where she maybe have 10 bodies, does that make her worse than somebody that has 10 split over 10 years or longer? Like, what's the actual, it's all really bizarre. And to me, it kind of speaks to Erik, see, I'm not reading that shit.
Manchester is blue heart, trophy, blue heart, trophy, blue heart, trophy.
I'm gonna find out a way to block your fucking emojis. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to find a way to block your emojis, mate. But thank you for stopping by, Erik C. Big up. I have to find a way to block those blue heart emojis and those trophy fucking emojis until United win again. But yeah, I don't understand any of this. I find all of it so disturbing, so weird, and it kind of gives me a little bit of a weird feeling because it kind of feels a little bit weirdly possessive as well in a way, right? Like as if these guys out there have any kind of say so in what women do with their bodies anyway, day to day. Yeah, well, big up Abby Martinez, appreciate you.
Pass that agility. Got my polygraph in XTI scared.
Yes, big up. Big up, Ab Martinez. Nice to hear that, brother. Thank you for stopping by as well. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I just think it's extremely I don't know, what's that word called? It just feels like some guys out there aren't living in reality, personally, because you could be really mean and say, look, most dudes aren't gonna have access to this woman anyway, right? Because she hangs around in certain circles, she's of a certain caliber. So most dudes who are like opining on this sort of topic and ranting and raving about it and telling Logan what he should do would never ever have the chance to ever fucking come within her orbit, right? Let alone fuck her instead. So the idea that they all kind of have so much to say about it is fucking laughable, because I'm sure most guys, like we all, right, don't have the, you know, the most the most red carpet worthy hit list ourselves, right? It's all a bit patchy. So I think just like observe the drama, laugh at it if you want to. It's funny to kind of laugh at because Dylan Danis is clearly a top level troll, but I don't really think this is that big of an issue. I honestly don't. Like, unless maybe Logan had no idea that she had ex-boyfriends and it all came out like this, cool, but I think he does. Normal people, I don't know, talk about that sort of stuff. He's got the internet, he could Google her name. It's not that big of a deal. I don't really see why people are freaking out about it. It's really odd. Like, people are taking it, like, it's really people, especially some guys online, they're taking it within themselves to kind of be like, you know, reminding Logan online that he's about to marry a slag or something, making sure that he makes the right decision. It's just weird. Like, I just don't get it personally. And like I said, I just don't understand what people expect. Do people expect to meet a conventionally attractive woman in her late 20s and expect that she's going to be a virgin? Is that what people actually expect? Because if that's the truth, then I really feel sorry for some guys out there, because you're going to be in for a big surprise. And even if they tell you they're a virgin, how can you prove that? Or if they tell you that she's got less than 5 bodies, how would you know that's true? No one is going to be telling you the truth, really, unless you're their partner and you got a certain level of trust. No one really owes you you're not really entitled to that kind of information. Like, no one really owes that to you in the slightest. If they give it up, fair enough, and they let you know, hey, here's the amount of bodies I have, blah, 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 cool. But I think unless you're religious, I don't see why you're bothered about this. I don't get it. Unless you're religious and it's a part of your religion where you need to, where, you know, in order to marry, the person has to be a virgin, whatever it may be, fair enough. That's in a whole nother conversation. But if you're a regular schmegular circular person out there who hasn't prayed since you were in fucking Catholic school, right? Who couldn't fucking, you know, locate Genesis in the Bible if your life depended on it, why are you bothering? Why do you care about this? Please, why do you care? I don't know. For me, the most funny part about this whole thing is the fact that, you know, Logan Paul's getting engaged to this woman, gave her allegedly an engagement ring that's like $500,000, but he still has refused to pay those guys back for the CryptoZoo thing. That for me is the funniest bit of this whole thing. Like, he just refuses to pay. And now there's this whole nother theory out there that there's these lawsuits pending, blah, blah, who knows. But that to me is the most that to me makes me laugh. Like, you owe people money and then you're going to plan this, because you know Logan Paul's wedding is not going to be some, like, you know, Logan Paul's wedding is not going to be some basic bitch wedding. It's going to be fucking a big deal. He might even parachute down to the fucking to the aisle. You know what I mean? He might have fucking Little Baby and Future performing. You know, like it's going to be fucking crazy. So he's going to spend a lot of money in his wedding. But he's just refused to pay these guys from CryptoZoo, I think something like 1.5 mil. And he might have a car service that's going to take all of his guests from like the villa where they're staying at or the complex to the wedding. He might have a car service that costs more than what he owes the CryptoZoo people. Legitimately, he might have more. But he's refused to pay. That to me is a bigger story than whether or not his girlfriend is a slag because she had a sex life before she met Logan. It's like, you niggas out there are fucking delusional if you honestly think you're gonna find a Scandinavian blonde who by all accounts is like a nice person. From what I've seen online, there's clips of her on like Ridiculousness and she's super funny. She's clearly got a sense of humor, clearly a kind of girl that most guys will be into because she's fucking funny. She looks the way that she does, and you honestly think she's gonna be a virgin. Oh, the naivety and the fucking, I don't know, the guys out there that think like that. Honestly, Manosphere dudes, I think, are like legends when it comes to their view on relationships and women and shit. It's bizarre. I love the ones, especially the ones, my favorite ones are the ones who think if they just get money, they can fuck anybody. Those are the ones I love the most because they actually legitimately think there's women, all women out there are only motivated by like money and shit. And then they have a, you know, surprise in their life when they bump into a lady who doesn't give a fuck about money and just thinks you're ugly or doesn't think you're cool or something and says nah, and their whole world shatters around them. It's like, bro, you can't just get money. Like, you can't just do drop shipping and Forex and like fucking, I don't know, sell fucking Instagram story ads and think you're gonna be able to fucking smash, I don't know, Iggy Azalea. Like, sometimes, you know, certain women are just out of your range. It just is what it is. You just have to play within your batting field, you know what I mean? That's all it is, basically. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a random dude in East London talking out my ass. Anyway, moving on. So, FOUSEY, quick update on FOUSEY. FOUSEY, I've enjoyed, and I know some of you guys haven't. So I'm not going to dwell on this too much because I know some of you guys get a little bit, you know, you get a bit uneasy when I show this type of stuff. But I've told you before, I have a really weird, I have a really weird infatuation with like crazy people. And sometimes I delude myself thinking that they're not crazy and just enjoying the freak show, enjoying the fucking psychosis of it all. I think it makes for entertaining content, entertaining whatever, right? And I think a part of me likes that because a part of me believes, maybe deep down, if circumstances weren't all, you know, if certain things in my life didn't fall in place, I might also be one of these guys online, just like chatting shit, going nuts. Do you know what I mean? Losing the plot. So maybe there's a part of me that sees myself in these crazy people, right? So the FOUSEY thing has been fucking fascinating. He kind of comes out of hiding, out of nowhere, and starts streaming on Kick, going Twitch and Kick, I guess, at the same time, doing this whole Game 7 thing, where the idea behind it is like he's in Game 7 of a basketball match or the championships, whatever you fucking call it, and he wants to kind of, you know, go for broke. So the idea to going for broke is to stream every single day without break. And obviously, it was funny to hear other people that are streamers say it's not sustainable. Like, big streamers are basically saying it's not sustainable, you won't be able to do it, blah, 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 blah. And I would imagine someone like a FOUSEY with his personality will be a non-stop content machine, be able to go forever and ever. But it reached a point where he naturally crashed, and the crash happened in such an epic way. So this clip I'm going to play you is going to put everything into context, but I'm going to get rid of the chat here quickly so you can just see what's going on. The guy here in the corner is the guy that trolled FOUSEY, that led to the whole affair. FOUSEY's in the hotel chilling with his security guard, ranting and raving, saying he's sober, but you know, story for another day. And then this guy who's been trolling FOUSEY the entire time ends up finding a way to call his fucking hotel room. He's got the number of his hotel room, and basically they start threatening each other on, you know, over the phone. And then the threats get to a point where FOUSEY threatens, I think, to go to shoot the guy. The guy then says he's gonna, if he comes to his house, he's gonna shoot him back. Something crazy happened, and then I think in that whole drama, FOUSEY gets worried and calls the police. But But when he calls the police, he feels like he's not getting anywhere with them. So then he starts faking that the guy's in the room with him. So, oh my God, he's got a gun, he's gonna shoot me, he's gonna shoot me. And then the police obviously rush to get there. When they rush to get there, they find him how he is and they stay. And credit to the police. I think this might have been Miami or something. And usually, I don't know, I've seen reports of, how police come in, when they burst through doors and shit. It can be crazy. Credit to the police in that, wherever state that he was in, for actually noticing that he was actually, going through an episode and just putting him into, going and getting him help. Basically, he got taken to he got sectioned, I'm assuming. So that's how it kind of all played out. But I'll play a bit of the clip so you can see what's going on, and I'll kind of give my comment on the end.
I'm teaching them a lesson. Hello?
Hey Yusuf, it's Scanville again. You gonna run away like a little pussy? You gonna freak out and threaten to fucking slit my throat again and shit, and threaten to dox my family? You fucking foot-sucking, pre-ejaculating, bald, weirdo, fucking sand Vin Diesel fucking loser. You came to the wrong town, buddy. Oh, and by the way, you know that Dominique is mine, right? I sent her to you, you fucking idiot. I've already started breaking your heart. We've only been at war for 2 days.
Hey, what's your address? Text me your address. I swear to God, you're dying tonight. Wallahi, you're dying tonight.
Okay, 2130. That's what happens when you come here.
Let's fast forward a bit. Let's fast forward here.
You know, but I'm not sure if anything's in it. It may just be like, you kind of look tough.
He knows my address. He called my
gun to my head.
Okay, yeah, this is.
There's a gun to my head.
This is.
Send the fucking cops.
FOUSEY.
Send the cops.
That's the individual. He's got like 60,000
There's a gun to my head right now. There's a gun to my head. Oh, ma'am, he left.
And I guess he doesn't.
Ma'am, he left. There's a gun to my head. Help, help, get them. Help, bye. Ma'am, Intercontinental. What's my room number? Help, tell me. 2027.
Alright, so I'm gonna send an officer.
That's what I have to do to get help.
And the police arrive. And then let me
313 viewers over here on YouTube. What's up, baby girl?
And then let me skip to the end, and you'll see what happened here. Let's get to the end right here.
Loser.
He's a stalker.
Okay, and who is this guy?
I don't fucking know.
So how do you want us to look for him if you don't know where he is?
I have his address.
What is his address?
I said grab my security 20 minutes ago.
Alright, listen.
You guys are dumb as fuck, man. You guys are literally dumb as fuck. Oh, yeah. Hey, record this. Security, come in here now. Yo, for my protection, come in here. He can't come in? Y'all are fucked. I'm suing all y'all. My life is in danger and you arrest a Palestinian Muslim who's viral? Are y'all dumb or are you stupid? Do you like your job? You're fucked. Hey! Hey, free FOUSEY!
Free FOUSEY. Yeah, anyway, in my opinion, that was one of the most spectacular live streams in the history of live streams. FOUSEY will go down in the Hall of Fame of live streamers. He is one of the greatest to ever do it. He is the IRL GOAT. Forget Ice Poseidon and all those fucking donuts. FOUSEY is the guy. He has come back up and down after so many cancellations and failures and what they're malarkey, and he always finds a way to fucking prosper and strive. And the thing that I like about it is that most of his live streams, in my opinion, I don't think he performs. Like a lot of these live streams, especially the IRL ones, that whole community, there's a lot of kind of goading of the audience. You're kind of forcing. It's basically like their own version of reality TV, right? Where they script, like reality TV is, you know, mostly real, quote unquote, but it is also scripted where they put people in certain scenarios, they give them drinks, I don't know, whatever it may be, so they can force certain things to happen. Whereas that's the same thing these IRL streamers does. But FOUSEY actually just goes out there in public and is himself, which is kind of corny, kind of ridiculous, kind of crazy, and things just happen. And I've loved it. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking loved it, especially the bit where he went to LA. He was in LA and he went to some club in LA and he was like, you know, I think it was a Bryce Hall's birthday party or something, right? And my God, it was incredible to see what like clouted up influencer, very exclusive parties look like on the inside, because it was fucking shit, right? It was like clearly a party like with all the biggest people on social media, all the girls that you know, all the guys that you know, blah blah blah. And first of all, the music was absolutely garbage. Like I am so sorry for you guys in America who have to go to clubs like that. Like if you're not into the stuff that I am into, like the house and the techno and the disco, and you go to like a regular club with like tables and shit, the music they play in there makes no sense. Like there's no rhyme or reason why they're playing some of these songs back to back together, and you're just like, I don't know, it's making my ears bleed. But the other thing that was really interesting about it in the club mostly was just the lack of like dancing. It was essentially like, you know, those meetups that YouTubers do where they go to a shopping mall and shit and people come, you know, chase them around, or they go and sign t-shirts somewhere. It just felt like one of those type of things. Like Bryce Hall was sitting, if I'm not mistaken, in a section at one point. Then he was like on the DJ booth, but everywhere he kept moving, the crowd kept moving where he was and just standing looking at him. And that was it. No one was dancing. There was loads of like hot, you know, LA type girls around. No guys were interacting with them. They were all basically trying to network and, you know, take pictures and shit and do little videos. It was so bizarre to see, but we only saw that insight because of FOUSEY. FOUSEY went in there unapologetic himself. He was sweating his whole face off during that whole thing. He said he was sober and kept drinking water like he was in the Sahara Desert. That to me is when the molly is kicking. But hey, I'm not going to put smudge on my guy's name because I'm a FOUSEY fan. And I think in general, in the end, this is also a good example to show if you actually want to make it, right? If you actually want to go to the next level in life, you have to sometimes go a bit crazy, especially when it comes to content creation, because nowadays you can't just do some milquetoast, run of the mill, you know, very sensible, very grown up, normal content and think you're going to get anywhere. It's not going to run in 2023 and beyond. You have to get crazy. You have to be unhinged. You have to really, really put yourself out there, and people reward crazy because it's fun to fucking watch. It's fun. It's unpredictable. You don't know where it's going to end. And in the end, it kind of ended well because he's now getting the help that he needs. It's been interesting to see, though, that people clearly online, again, because I'm not really familiar with, like, because I've never had anybody in my family that's really suffered from like mental health issues or anything. I don't really know people close like that either, because I don't really have a big circle of friends, so I can't really see the signs. But most people online, they have to give people credit online on social media. People were calling it from the jump. They were saying there's something wrong with him. He needs help. He needs help. People were calling it from the jump. So it is interesting to see that, even though I didn't see it, I thought he was just being quote unquote crazy for content. It's now being true. You know, he actually did have an issue, which is why he's in, you know, he's in that hospital that he's in now. And he's been in there a lot longer than I thought he would be. You know, he was meant to come out, I think, sooner, but he's been in there for like 4 or 5 days or so. So clearly, he needs to be in there. So I'm happy that he's getting the help that he needs. But just to end the FOUSEY loving, my favorite clip of FOUSEY is this. This is my favorite FOUSEY clip ever. Ever. And I hope you guys like this too. This clip is the best.
Long time I looked at myself in the mirror and I based myself based on what I read on the comments. I felt worthless. I felt ugly. I felt gay. I felt that like that. Long time I looked at.
I love FOUSEY. One more time. The gasp from the crowd. The gasp from the crowd is the one that fucking gets me. The gasp from the crowd is what gets me. One more time.
Long time I looked at myself in the mirror and I based myself based on what I read on the comments. I felt worthless. I felt ugly. I felt gay. I felt that like that. Long time I looked at myself in the mirror.
He was copping please. You see his hands? Fuji and he was copping please. He was copping please. Like, no. Let's rewind. I didn't mean bitches in that way. I meant like bitches in like a, you know, it was too late. No. I meant like, you know, a bunch of sticks, not like the derogatory way. Oh, fucking hell. So, free FOUSEY, get well soon, my guy. You know, doing content at that level just requires that level of fucking input. You know, whatever, it is what it is, man. I'm still here. I'm rocking with you, brother. Whew. Moving on from that one, the guy that Brian Callen was defending, Lewis. Hey, big up Austin Case here. Big up to $20 super chat. Appreciate it.
Oh hell yes. Random show. I'm staying up late tonight.
Big up Austin Casey, I appreciate it, bro. Thank you for the $20 donation, my friend. I appreciate it. It's not gonna be a super long one today. It's gonna be a couple of hours, because obviously, you know, it's fucking early morning here in fucking the UK, London and whatnot. So I'm not gonna stay super long, but I will do another one later on after work and stuff. So you get a double little header. So anything I miss, we'll try and go through it. But I'm gonna try and get through as much as I can now. And again, apologies for the MIA-ness. Everybody in the chat, you know, sometimes, you know, Wagwan, it is what it is. I have to explain it. Anyway, going back to what I was going to say. So the guy that Brian Callen was defending, the head of the Spanish FA, Luis Rubiales, I don't know how you pronounce his name, is in a bit of a sticky situation. It's been a funny thing to fucking notice. I'm not going to lie. Because I think Brian Callen might be the only person I think in Western media I've seen defend him. Because he's getting some defense in Spain. Because, you know, certain countries, certain regions of the world just haven't really adopted the whole council culture sort of thing as much as probably other parts of the world have. Me Too, council culture, that stuff hasn't really hit parts of Europe, in other parts of Europe as it has maybe in other parts of the world. So in Spain, he's getting a lot of defense, but in general, I've not heard anybody else in Western media defend Luis Rubiales the way that Brian Callen has. No one else has done it. So interesting update from this last time I said this. One headline here, courtesy of BBC. Spanish Football Federation will take legal action over Jennifer Hermoso lies. So you've heard that correctly. The Spanish FA is planning to sue the girl who got sexually assaulted. It kind of reminds me of the time when Brian Callen decided it was a good idea to try and sue the husband of his rape accuser because he was damaging his he was tarnishing his name, defamation or whatever. And also I think he was calling up comedy clubs allegedly and trying to get his gigs cancelled. And obviously Callen, you know, comedians, you know, the only thing they give a shit about is their fucking gigs and their bookings. So he went crazy. He wasn't having that. So he allegedly filed a lawsuit against them, and I think he dropped it in the end. But this is giving that same sort of energy. So this is the first bit of the update that was kind of crazy to kind of see. So let's quickly read the update. It says Luis Rubiales has refused to resign. That's one thing as well as an update. He's refusing to resign after kissing forward Jennifer Hermoso. Jenny Hermoso on the lips following Spain's World Cup final win over England. Hermoso said on Friday she did not consent, but the federation has questioned her version of events. The evidence is conclusive as the president has not lied. In a statement by Players Union representing for the 33-year-old Hermoso, she is quoted saying, "In no case did I seek to lift the president while they embrace on the podium." The president will also will demonstrate each of the lies that are spread either by someone on behalf of the player, the RFEF, and the president give the seriousness of the content to the press release from the Foot Pro Union will initiate their corresponding legal actions. The federation also said that if selected players have an obligation to play for national team after 81 female players said they would not represent Spain after Rubiales was removed from his post. So the Spanish women's football players are really standing on business, right? They're basically saying, hey, our colleague, our teammate got assaulted by the Spanish FA. The Spanish FA aren't doing what's right, so we're going to refute. They're basically going on strike and saying, hey, we're not going to represent our country again or play in any sanctioned game until this guy has been removed from his post, right? And he's just refusing to fucking move, which is interesting to see. And obviously Spanish FA are backing him. But then another part of it is incredibly hilarious, right? They've got this update here. Spanish Football Federation regional presidents call for resignation. So some people are calling for resignation. But the funniest bit of it is this update, which I just saw today. This is the biggest update for me, which is hilarious. Look at that headline. The mother of the Spanish soccer chief starts hunger strike as calls out his resignation. This guy got his fucking mum involved, right? And now this poor fucking lady is deciding to go on hunger strike in an effort to defend her son's honor. If you wanted an example of just how different other regions of the world are when they address these sort of counterculture Me Too things, this is one of the good examples of it. This is one of the good examples of it, I swear to God, because in no other part of the world, maybe there's other parts of the world, but you wouldn't find this in America, right? No fucking, you know, Kevin Spacey's mum didn't come out and say she's gonna go on fucking hunger strike. You know, Harvey Weinstein's mum's probably long and dead by now because of how old he is, but you wouldn't see it happening in any other part of the Western world. But anyways, let's read the article. The mother of Spanish Football Federation president is under fire for kissing women's World Cup champion on the lips. It has started a hunger strike on Monday in defense of her son as calls grow for his resignation. The leaders of the regional soccer bodies that make up Spanish Federation added their call for soccer chief Luis Rubiales' resignation on Monday. FIFA, the world soccer body, had already provisionally suspended him for 90 days after he gave a defiant speech refusing to step down. The scandal surrounding the kiss has overshadowed Spain's team 1-0 victory over England. Rubiales also came under storm of criticism for grabbing his crutch in a victory just while the president boxed near Spain's Queen Letizia and her teenage daughter Princess Sofia. Rubiales' mother, this is the main bit. Rubiales' mother, Angeles Beja or Beja, I don't know if I pronounce that name right. Angeles Beja told the state's news agency EFE she would remain on hunger strike night and day at a church in southern Spain until what she calls the inhumane hounding of her son ends. Speaking outside the church in the southern town of Montreal, Rubiales' cousin Vanessa Ruiz, a woman, right, joined in his mother in calling Hermoso to tell the truth. Hermoso has denied Rubiales' claim that she consented to what he called was a mutual kiss during the August 20th ceremony in Sydney, Australia. So this is a crazy update because it just shows you how insane other parts of the world are when they're dealing with these sort of issues. Because in my opinion, this is a pretty simple issue to kind of get right and to sort out, really and truly. If you think about it, it's not that deep of an issue. In not to dismiss what happened, but it's not that deep. For instance, if he genuinely, like, again, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. If he genuinely thinks he did nothing wrong, but the person thinks you did something wrong, the recipient of your unauthorized, unapproved kiss didn't like it, it's up to you as a dude. It's your responsibility as a dude to kind of own that mistake and say, hey, hands up, I apologize for making you feel that way. It wasn't my intention. And in this situation, just step aside and step down. Because if you think about it, in any other walk of life, if you're working in a regular job, right, and you happen to, end up making a move on somebody at the Christmas party, right, and they didn't reciprocate or they didn't like it and they complained, you would get fired, or most likely, if you're well liked or maybe you've got whatever connections in the company, people have back you, they might say, hey, why don't you resign so that you don't have to kind of have to go through the whole internal investigation thing, and then when you try and get a new job, we have to kind of give them references and give them information about what happened here. Because I think that's what the whole resigning thing happens for, right? You resign first before we do the internal investigations, because then we don't need to divulge any other personal information about you. So they're kind of protecting you in that way. But I think the kind of grown-up thing to do in this situation is to own up to your mistake, say that you did wrong, and step aside, especially in this case, because this case is concerning the Spanish football team, the women's football team, winning the World Cup. They won the World Cup at the death. I think it was 1-1 against England. They won the World Cup via penalties. It's a big fucking honor to win such a trophy. Massive achievement. And it's all been overshadowed because this guy decided it was a good idea to kiss one of the players when they were coming up to get their fucking medals. Like, in my opinion, some of the hugs that he was giving some of the girls, because if you watch the whole video, it's kind of wild. I thought some of the hugs were a bit much, right? The hugs were like, the hands were getting dangerously low. He was picking some of them up and shit. I was like, bruh, like, unless you played with these girls, unless you know them intimately from, like, I don't know, coaching them when they were like young, even that is still odd. But like, maybe you have like a an uncle, older dad relationship with them, fair enough. But these girls are all about maybe 5 years younger than you and something. Like, it's just not professional to kind of act that way. So I think the hugs were a bit much. So him kissing her was obviously over the top, but he just refuses to fucking own up to his mistake. And now we're in a position where it's just going to keep rumbling on and on and on and on. But also credit to the girl involved for just allowing the situation to just, transpire the way it does, because it feels like Spain, unfortunately, are in a place now where they're not really as progressive as maybe other parts of the world. And I have a feeling if she would have come out and said more, or sat down for a long form interview somewhere, there'd be parts of the Spanish media, Spanish press, celebrities, talking heads people that'll be saying, look, she did it all for attention, she wants to be more famous. You know what I mean? They'd have that kind of fucking crazy rebuttal. So I like the fact that she's just letting it breathe, and whatever happens, and it plays out the way it kind of plays out. But it's hilarious to see him how he's kind of defending himself, because I also think to myself like, I wonder what would happen if fucking Brian did the same thing. I wonder if Brian approached his cancellation the same way, what would have happened? Because I feel like a lot of these guys got away with it. I feel like a lot of them got away with it because I feel like a lot of them kind of got away with it because they are, you know, they come from wealthy families, they're well connected and shit. You know, regular people like you and I, if we got accused of rape, if we got accused of, you know, being a pedo, on the border of being a pedo, right? Because Chris D'Elia's story is funny because I don't think he actually did anything to anybody underage. It was more so him contacting girls underage, finding out they're underage, and then contacting them back when they're not underage, right? Which to me is still pedo shit, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? I think any other person that does that sort of shit, you're done, right? You're finished. You're never coming back from that thing. But I think those guys kind of got away with it because, you know, they're wealthy. They can kind of, you know, they essentially can survive not working for a while. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Chris did no podcast, no comedy for like a year. Do you know what I mean? No one else, I don't think, unless you've got savings, can actually survive with a year without working. So clearly they can get away with it if you are rich and you're powerful in some respects, or well connected in some regards. But I wonder, I don't think if Brian Callen did the same stuff that Lewis, or approached it the same way Lewis Rubiales said, I don't think he'd get in more trouble. I think it would have been fine for him. I honestly do. I think it would have been perfectly fine if Callen came out and just was like, yeah, I raped her. You know, girls like to be, what's Callen say? Like, girls have like a, what do you say? They have like he said something about like women have like a predisposition for like rape or something. It's some weird thing he talks about. He goes on these rants about attraction and whatever, and he always talks about that sort of shit because I think he read it in one book. So I think if Callen would have just came out and said, yeah, you know, she enjoyed it, we did a lot of rape play, now she's turning around saying that I raped her, she's lying. Like, if he just would have come out and just said that, I think it wouldn't have made any difference personally. It probably would have been the same that he's in now. So maybe Lewis Rubiales will end up being a inspiration for a lot of these guys. A lot of these creeps might see his situation and think, you know what, if I just refuse to apologize, if I refuse to acknowledge the cancellation attempt and just keep trucking on, right, and stand 10 toe holds down in my fucking creep behavior, I might get away with it. You know, you might get away with it because this world is so crazy, especially if you got the money, if you got the bank balance to survive it, you might get away with it. I swear to God, you might. But yeah, anyway, moving on from that one. Let's talk about this quickly. I mentioned it before in the pod, and I think some people have spoken about it themselves, but I want just to speak about it here. I find all of this fucking hilarious because this is further proof that, you know, House Phone from No Jumper, or formerly of No Jumper, who's now Reconnected, is legitimately his own worst enemy, and is also incredibly lucky that there is I think also like a small there's a segment of his fan base who does enjoy how much of a fuck up he is. You know, I said the stuff about the FOUSEY thing. I think there's an element of us, especially people that watch stuff on online content and shit, we sometimes warm to or connect with people who don't have their shit together sometimes. It can kind of be endearing. You can kind of identify them if you don't have your shit together also. So I think House Phone is really lucky that he has an element of that kind of thing in his fan base, of people who just kind of, you know, they kind of want to rescue him. They kind of want to save him. They want to make him right. I think a lot of that happens there, because I made the previous video about how House Phone allegedly stole $125 off of his fans. Off of one fan is accusing him, because what he does online sometimes when he's short of money is that, because it seems like that anyway, it gives me that impression, when he puts his Instagram stories up, he'll sell Instagram stories ad space, which obviously is, you know, is self-explanatory. Or sometimes he will sell like old stuff he has, like old, you know, streetwear stuff and sneakers and shit, whatever. This time this guy bought some jeans from him that he advertised on his Instagram stories. The kid cash apps him $125. House Phone promises to send it. I think at one point the guy suggested, hey, could you sign it for me? And House Phone said he doesn't own a Sharpie, couldn't bother to buy one, did make no effort to kind of do the extra bit for the fan, whatever. They have a pretty decent back and forth, and then as time progresses, house phone stops replying, and I think it's like 4 months or something, and still the guy hasn't received his jeans. And I guess everyone's been calling out house phone for it, and he decided to clap back on the Twitter and reply to everybody. He's now deleted these tweets, but thank you for the guys over at No Jumper Reddit for screen grabbing them. But this is house phone's reply to people online calling him a scammer, right? With evidence too, and there's evidence of him clearly scamming people and not sending things when he's meant to send it, and just clearly just being a horrible person to deal with when it comes to business online. House phone says as follows: motherfuckers can miss me with that scamming shit. Anytime someone pay me to do something, I do it. I'm not the best at keeping up with shit sometimes, but it always gets done, period. I'm working on it, but we're all human. Suck my dick. I ain't scammed not one motherfucking person, even if it took too long. So telling your fans to suck your dick is legitimately one of the most insane and hilarious things I've ever seen in my life, because I don't know, a part of me just loves the era we're in at the moment, where I feel like content creators or just people online are just refusing to pretend. There was a period in the world where people kind of pretended like they love their fans. I'll do anything for my fans. I'm only here because of you, all that sort of shit. But I think there's some content creators, right, that generally don't think that way. They generally have like God complexes. They generally think they can do no wrong. Maybe narcissism, who knows? And they just own it. And the fans kind of what's that word called? The fans kind of enable their toxic behavior because they just keep coming back for more. So I can't really blame House Phone for talking to his fans like that, because his fans still keep buying his shoes, still keep streaming into his channel, still keeps trying to suck his dick on the DMs and trying to be his friend, even though he clearly has contempt for them and just sees them as, attention machines, eyes to kind of give him more clout, and walking wallets to buy his shitty copycat fucking Air Force One shoes, whatever, or wannabe BAPA'S. That's basically what he sees him as. So I can't really hate him for that. We continue. And I'm talking about personal shit. I'm not even talking about the brand. Bro, we have a whole house warehouse that imports, exports everything. Y'all think I'm at the crib boxing up shoes and shipping them? LMAO, y'all crazy. Yes, I forgot shit. Yes, I may take a while depending what it is, but I fuck with y'all. Niggas, bro, just cause I be bullshitting sometimes don't mean I scam somebody. Y'all throw these words around so loosely, but thank you for holding me accountable. I'm working on it, I swear. So this guy just, again, as much as just it's kind of like, it makes sense to kind of go in on him, I also have to say, like, the fans kind of deserve this treatment for him because they enable his bullshit behavior. It's technically still scamming somebody if you don't send stuff on time. It is. If somebody pays you $125 for a pair of jeans and it takes you 4 months to ship them, and you give them no updates, no timeline of when they can expect them to be shipped, I'm allowed to say you scam me because I send you the money for an item that you are selling. You should ship it to me in a timely manner. What's a timely manner? A couple of fucking days, maybe a week tops. I said it before, when it comes to buying stuff online, I have no sympathy for people who like, oh, I'm busy, I got a busy schedule. If you got a busy schedule, don't put stuff online to sell it, because unfortunately we live in an Amazon Prime world where most of us are conditioned, right, to expect our items to get to us in a timely manner. If you can't do that, then we're all going to freak out. We all do it. We all order stuff online and then we instantly check the tracking. Even though we know it's going to take 2 days, we're instantly tracking it. So why should I have more sympathy for people who, again, don't work again? Think about it. It's not like you're buying on Poshmark or Vinted or Depop, where maybe people have regular jobs, which is different, because sometimes people on those platforms will say, hey, I only ship on like Fridays or something, right? Which is up to you then to decide as a buyer what you want to do. But these guys don't work regular 9-to-5s. They essentially have ability to make their own timetables, make their own working schedules. If you can't, plan or figure out a time to ship stuff, don't sell stuff online. Simple as that. It's not that hard to fucking compute. And in my opinion, if someone gives you money, you're kind of obliged to like do as they say. in a weird way because you accepted their money for something that you were selling. So you kind of have to bend over backwards to deliver on the kind of promise that you've made, the trade of that money of like, I give you money, you give me the fucking shit. So the fact that he can't comprehend that is absolutely hilarious. But I love like the fucking the scatty drug addled mind of Housephone on these fucking tweets, because you can see him kind of like fluctuating between like, should I just like tell him to go suck my dick, or should I pretend like I'm appreciative of their support, and I know that without them I'd be working at fucking what's that word called, Zappos or something, one of those kind of stores, right? Like, or whatever, or Brooklyn Skate Projects or whatever it's called. It's really hilarious to see. But again, like I said, I feel like the Housephone fans need to take some personal accountability for how he treats them, because he treats them like shit because they allow him to treat them like shit. And it kind of is what it is. It's a big toxic power relationship, and they kind of have to own it as well. And, you know, I've got no sympathy for either people on either side. If you willingly send money to Housephone, hoping to get your items that he sells personally on time, you're an absolute donut, personally speaking. And Housephone himself, the way he treats his fans, you know, the guy sent him $125, that probably went to purchasing an 8-ball or something. And instead of being thankful that the guy gave him money to purchase an 8-ball and send the stuff over straight away, he takes too long and then gets angry when the person gets upset that didn't get their stuff on time. Okay, anyway, moving on. Last bit of No Jumper news to talk about. Adam22 and TRELL and AD. So this is a quick one to talk about. This is courtesy of the channel called Chicks Move. And to be fair, I have to give Adam22 props. He has completely dunked on these guys' heads. He's dunked on their heads. He's really fucking dunked on their heads, rubbed these fucking balls in their face, and they can't do anything about it. If you don't know the update, basically they've been all going back and forth for a while, sending loads of shots at each other and subs and whatnot. And it got to a point where I guess Adam22 just had enough and just basically went low, right? He basically said, look, I'm just going to go low and just kind of nuke this whole shit. So he essentially, in his, I guess, his own way, revealed that TRELL from back on Fig is in immense amount of debt. I think he's in like $2.5 million worth of debt or something, right? Like crazy amounts. And most of it has to do with his company or his brand Last Kings he did with Tiger back in the day, but it's crazy. So basically all the whole facade of how they are as a family isn't all this cracked up to be, right? They've got debts and shit, and we all should have known that as fans of the show and the Jerry No Jumper Extended Universe, because of the whole GoFundMe. When TRELL and his girl store, I forgot the name of it, when it got flooded that time in LA, they put up a GoFundMe, and a lot of fans, myself included, were a bit miffed, like, why are they putting up a GoFundMe when they drive Lambo trucks and they're in Ferraris and wearing Gucci, like, you know, they're doing the whole LA with rich kind of family sort of shit. Why are they asking fans for like money to repair a roof? Like, don't you shouldn't have that money. I mean, it was weird. Anyway, we kind of looked past it because, you know, they're in a moment of need. But then obviously Adam revealed that thing. Then the second thing he revealed that was fucking crazy. He revealed that allegedly TRELL's wife, or no, TRELL's mother of his children, the girl that he's with, Heather, may have been an escort back in the day. They found her old profile. I think it was like Yella something, and her old profile where she was, you know, advertising her services on this platform of like being a sugar baby and also other services and shit, like early internet stuff, right? It wasn't even like an app, it was like some internet website or whatever maybe. So she was in on this early, and people kind of saw this. And the reason why this is a big deal is because those guys, AD, TRELL, and the guys that left No Jumper, they made a really big deal and kind of were, you know, taking the piss out of Adam22 when his wife Lena did that whole cucking video thing with the guy Jason Love. So they made a big deal out of it. So when he then found out that TRELL's, you know, girl, wifey, may have been an escort allegedly back in the day, that was a nuclear bomb. So since then they've not said a single word. And I guess Adam22 decided to go on this clip and, you know, celebrate what happened, and this is his response at the time. It's a bit old, but I'll just play it for you anyway.
Like Kev interview about 2.5 weeks ago, and prior to that, I had been listening to all these former hosts just trash me for like 5 months. Whole room full of gangsters letting me know that they were gonna hurt me, they were gonna run down on me, wound my family, kill people in my family, all these crazy threats. Gang, and all I had to do was let them know that I wasn't scared. Haven't heard a peep since. And then you got other people who I really had love for and really held down for years and years, never had a bad word to say about them. But they were talking about my relationship for months and months and months, just acting as if they had so many opinions. And as soon as it comes out that certain people got a history in sex work, other people are in millions of dollars worth of debt, now they don't have anything to say about me. Even though I've been popping my shit way worse than ever before.
Now, so again, the first part of this kind of clip is a little bit policey. That's the thing I've never really liked about Adam, and I think it's always kind of irked me, and even sometimes a bit with Kanye as well. Like, they love to like speak recklessly about people, and then when people, you know, usually with guys, there's only a limit, you know, to how much back and forth we can do verbally. It gets to a point where we're going to want to fight, right? Especially if you have an argument with somebody you don't like. You're just going to settle it with just, you know, fighting, whatever it may be. And he's always been scared to do that. And that first bit of like, oh, they want to ruin my family. Don't get me wrong. Those guys were sending some veiled threats, but it sounds a bit policey, right? Every time he kind of talks about, you know, getting into a physical altercation, he always kind of dumbs that. He always kind of poo-poos it like, oh, that's beneath him. Why would I fight anybody, right? So he doesn't mind antagonizing, doesn't mind, you know, firing back and getting into the back and forths, but he just thinks it should be just back and forths and content all the time. Some people just don't play like that. Some people, you know, they don't play content games. They don't play back and forth over the internet. Some people just want to fight. It just is what it is. And I think as a guy, if you get into that sort of murky waters of like insulting people and saying what you want to say, you should be willing to, you know, to bear the consequences of it. But he doesn't want to. He kind of wants one of those people that, you know, just picks and chooses. It's really strange how he acts. So I'm not really fond of that. But I have to give him a lot of credit. He did sustain a lot of blows. Like, he was really taking it from all angles. Like, you know, myself included, I don't really watch No Jumper anymore since the whole breakup. It's not really the same anymore. I don't really watch the other shows either. But he was getting it a lot from everybody, all angles, because essentially everyone blamed him for the downfall of No Jumper, which is essentially still his fault because he's the boss. But there's a lot of context to it, a lot of nuance to it and shit. And overall, he only finally started defending himself at the end. I think when he realized that No Jumper wasn't really failing. I think there was maybe a little fear that he had that he actually did fumble and it was never going to come back. But obviously, you know, with content games out, with the content industry the way it is at the moment, the content scene, the way I see it is like, I noticed it with the Joe Budden thing. I stopped listening to a Joe Budden podcast because just personally, I just couldn't stand hearing Joe Budden's voice anymore after all that nonsense that happened with Rory Moore. Just annoying hearing any of the side talk anymore. I just kind of was over it. But I know a lot of people who don't really watch a lot of shit, right? They don't really have a lot of content to kind of consume. So the content they do have, they're not going to let that go easily, right? Like, if you're willing to put out, you know, 3 shows a week, there's going to be a fan base that are going to be willing to consume it. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. The same reason why The Fire and the Kid is still around, because they're just fans there, just don't have anything else to replace, you know, have 2-3 hours of content every single week. So I think when Adam realized that No Jumper was going to be okay without those guys, it wouldn't be as popular, but it would be okay. I think that's when he started to like let his nuts hang. So give him credit for that. The only thing that's really funny, you have to kind of look at the TRELL and AD guys a bit funny, because since he said this, they've all gone mute. And I think there's a video going viral now on the Reddit of like Keem, one of the other guys, you know, associated with Back on Fig and TRELL, basically admitting that TRELL told them specifically, don't talk about what Adam has basically divulged or exposed. Don't mention the debt thing on your show. Don't talk about my girl and her history maybe of sex work and stuff. Don't mention it. So that's why I don't like it anymore, because they were firing shots at him. They were taking the piss out of his wife, getting cucked and shit. They were, you know what I mean? They were talking crazy on him the whole time, and now he's fired back, and it's hitting a bit close to home. Now they don't want to talk anymore. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I'm not really a big fan of anymore. Like, they don't really want to address it and play those kind of games, because obviously it's really embarrassing. Because, you know, you're insulting this guy for being involved in the porn industry, and then here's your girl that's doing exactly the same thing. I don't really know how you grade it. I don't really give a fuck really, but that's the whole thing to talk about that. So in general, I think personally, I still blame Adam for the whole demise. I still think it was avoidable. I think it was a stupid how it all kind of played out. My theory is fundamentally Adam just couldn't get a handle on how to deal with the other guys, other platforms outside of No Jumper. I think it was just starting to get to him, but he didn't know how to handle it because he couldn't rein it in. It was too late. They were already blowing up and having their own thing. It was kind of hard to rein it in. And also, I think fundamentally as well, the guy's a founder. He's obviously a visionary in one way with No Jumper. I think you kind of have to give the guy credit for that. And, you know, this influence on hip hop and the SoundCloud era and all that malarkey, and just, you know, it just being a platform that doesn't exist in any other way. There's no other No Jumper out there really. So it kind of serves that kind of purpose. But I think he's an amazing founder, a visionary in his own right, but I don't think he's a good manager. He's a horrible manager. Like, maybe he's a good businessman and a leader in that regard. No, an operator in that regard, maybe. But as a people person, as a manager of people, he is terrible. Like, his communications, his communication skills are terrible. The lack of accountability, personal responsibility, leadership, direct, all that stuff is just not there. He's just not a good leader. And I think that's the fundamental issue. He wasn't able to communicate with his employees or his host, you know, where he stood, what his problems were, you know, figure out a solution and kind of go from there. And then it kind of divulged how it kind of divulged the way it went down, because I still believe fundamentally you can't go talking about other employees when you're the boss to other employees. It's just not on. That's just completely unprofessional. Doesn't matter if you're saying good things to them, you just can't be talking about your other employees to other employees. It just doesn't make any sense. It's always gonna be received badly by the person that's being spoken about. You know, personally, it just was a weird way to go about things. Even though he spoke to them personally about it, I know, blah, blah, but I think in general, that's how it ended. Anyway, moving on from that one, let's talk about some Brendan stuff. So let's go quickly through this video, because I've got to run through all this shit. I've been rabbiting for an hour, and I've got to get through this Brendan stuff in another hour. So let's just run through this shit now. So first clip to talk about here, which I've seen here, the fucking Reddit, this is fucking brilliant. This clip, right? Let's get the title up so you can see here. Give the person who posted it their props. Let's get up on the screen. Yes, this one there, this video, this clip here, right? Brandon's advice when your wife is pregnant: book 9-month tours, never be at home, right? Fucking hilarious video. This is a clip from ages ago during King and the Sting with Theo Vaughn, but I think it's still funny to kind of look back
I'll tell you what, here's the other thing. Girls blame it on the pregnancy. Some girl might just be an asshole.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, listen, the only advice I have for you, I just booked fucking city tours. I just booked tours. I was on the road every fucking week for 9 months. 9-month tour. As soon as she got pregnant, I went, see ya. Because she was mean, man.
Really?
Oh, yeah, mean.
What would she do?
She'd eat flaming hot Cheetos and rub her fingers in my eyes and shit.
Oh.
Yeah, dude.
Damn.
Yeah, they're fucking bitches, man. Good luck, bro.
Dude, that ain't that bad.
Dude,
really?
pick up a hobby like mountain biking and just be gone for hours.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. My girl has damn near the same body. Don't mean to flex on you. All the videos I post, I send to his mom first so she can show Tiger. Or when I get home, I show him.
So I have a funny thing, Spirit. Like, it's interesting to see when Brendan's actually telling the truth, how legitimately funny he is. Right, when it's actually truth, and it's coming from good. That was like a little funny, you know. It could be a funnier segment to kind of, you know, in context of his comedy, right, relation to his comedy. But like I've said it previously on the pod, like, God bless the wives and the partners of stand-up comedians in LA. God bless them, because that is a thankless job, really thankless job, because you know deep down your partner doesn't want to be at home with you. They don't want to be at home raising the kids. They don't want to be at home playing happy families. They want to be on the road. They want to be on the road, smashing fucking waitresses, smashing up and coming comedians, right? Gossiping about other comedians in a green room. That's what they want to be doing, drinking all night, doing drugs. They don't want to be at home with you. You know that. So they're going to do everything in their power to make it make sense why they're not around. Book long tours, you know, go for their dreams, all this sort of nonsense, right? It's just an effort just to make sure they're not going to be around anymore. That's all they actually want to do. So the wives and partners of these comedians, I don't really give them any stick. That's why sometimes I have a lot of like sympathy even for Brendan's wife, and that somebody doesn't really have a lot of sympathy for her, and they kind of troll her a bit as well. But I just sometimes think, like, you know, if the guy's not going to be around at home and you have to essentially raise the kids on your own with help of nannies or families and stuff, you're allowed to do what you want, I think, because that's a beast of a job, for real. Looking after an entire household and an adult, because basically, you know, most of these comedians, guys, I feel like, with the exception of maybe Bill Burr, you get the feeling all their wives are like mums as well. Don't you get that kind of vibe? Like, think about Bert Kreischer's wife, Leanne. They have a great relationship, but she sometimes comes across like his mum. So essentially, these women are like having to, look after grown men plus their own kids. So if they buy, Birkins and they're driving fancy cars and they just don't do much, or they complain online and shit, and they live a life of a fucking Real Housewife or something, I don't really think people should bother or mind it. It's a fair exchange. If those guys get to go out on the road and smash fucking open micers and do lots of drugs and hang out a lot, then the women also should be allowed to just, spend, put whatever they want on the fucking company credit card and keep it moving. I think that's a fair exchange, because I don't think Brendan's alone in this thinking. I think this is something all comedians do. Legit. Most of them don't want to be at home. And I think the women know that as well. Maybe they don't want us to be at home as well because they're a bit of a nuisance, but I don't think he's alone in this thinking. So I wouldn't even go too hard on Brendan on this. I think they all do it. And that's why I think it's a very interesting kind of space to look at from the outside in as a fan, because these guys are also the ones on their pods who love to fucking, give you life lessons on how you should look after your family and stuff, or relationships, or it's like, bro, like, you don't even raise, you've not seen your kid for a week. What are you telling me? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. Like, no, I'm not having it. So I wouldn't break bread on that one too much. It kind of is what it is. Let's go on this one. This is a clip courtesy of Find the Kid Again. This is a compilation that I like, which is a compilation of him saying all the people that he says he's known, right? Like celebrities and shit. This is a good one because I think I mentioned it before in the pod that I do want to make my own video of his lies and kind of add my commentary in it, but less so the celebrities and more so just the random lies that don't make a sense why he's lying about it, right? It's just because those ones for me are the best ones, because in my head, I try to always look at things from his point of view, and I can understand why he does that whole like fake it till you make it thing, because he lives in LA. He's part of the entertainment industry there. That whole industry is built on fake it till you make it, essentially. So I understand why he does that. But there's sometimes that he lies. You're like, bruh, like, no one believes you, right? Nobody. Like, it's not even a necessary lie. It doesn't do anything to advance your image or to make you look cooler. It's just a lie that just doesn't make any sense. Why? Like, Jeremy, it does nothing. So yeah, so this might be in the same sort of like lane, because no one looks at Brendan as like a, as a fucking top tier celebrity. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that he has all these interactions with these like legit celebrities is fucking insane. But let's see the compilation anyway. Hold on, let me get the post up so you can see who posted, and then we do full screen. There we go. That's the post, and let's put it up on here. Unmute. Boom. Let's go.
And Eminem's on Instagram, Twitter, social media. He's DM me. I had a thing with Eminem, right? I walked over. What's up, Mr. Stanley? He goes, "You're the tough guy that does comedy, right?" And I was like, "Holy fuck!"
He knew you.
And I was a fighter, and he had tears in his eyes, and was telling me to stop fighting.
Who?
Casey Affleck.
Wow.
I'm going to stop there. So there are some of these stories, like, having only been to LA once, that time I went to LA specifically for the Golf Wang Festival thing, right? Tyler Creators Festival. From that one time that I went out there, I not bumped into, but I saw from afar a couple of people I've seen on TV, right? And you talk to people out there and they basically say that's, you see them all the time. So I can imagine there is a possibility, if you live in LA, you actually live there, and you live, you do your life over there, that most likely over the span of your life, you may bump into the odd celebrity here and there. But when I say bump into, that's a loose descriptive term for like seeing somebody that you know on TV or on YouTube across the road, speeding by you in a car, zipping across on a fucking electric scooter. Right? Like, that's what I basically think of. I don't think of, oh, you're gonna have a conversation with them, they're gonna know who you, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is the most insane shit you've ever heard in your life. And this would also make more sense, these interactions, if these were like interactions that he had around the time he was like the most appearance guest on GRE. because we have to also, you know, be fair to Brendan. He might not be well known, but the appearances on JRE are probably gonna make him known to some people. So because a lot of celebrities watch Joe Rogan, right? They are big fans of his. So I could see a scenario where a Casey Affleck might be a secret or might be an undercover UFC fan, but also loves Joe Rogan and fucking the other guys that hunt and shit and run around and shit. So he might know Brendan Schaub'S. Cool. But did he have tears in his eyes when he met him? No. Did he maybe say, hey, what's up? Give him a spud, head nod? Maybe that's possible. But that's the thing about Brendan. It's the purposeful embellishing that doesn't, like, it doesn't make any sense. Because if you just said, hey, I was at a UFC fight night one time and I bumped into Casey Affleck on the way to the fights and I gave him £1, like, that's an alright story. That's maybe more believable. But saying he had tears in his eyes talking to you and telling you not to fight is insane. Let's go back to it one more time.
And I was a fighter and he had tears in his eyes and was telling me to stop fighting.
Who?
Casey Affleck.
Wow.
He was like, you don't need to do this, man.
Yeah.
You have so much going for you. You're a smart kid. But I didn't recognize him at first. I'm like, that guy looks like Adam. So I was waiting and he came up to me. I was at the Comedy Store 2 nights before and I think he was around then. He came up to me and was like, you're that funny guy that kicks ass.
Also, the Adam Sandler story is interesting because you get different versions of Adam Sandler from what I've seen online. Right, he's out there playing basketball and, you know, pick up basketball in random basketball courts. Like, super cool. So he's clearly a guy that doesn't mind, you know, being around the public and regular people. But there's also accounts of Adam Sandler meeting other people, celebrities and stuff, and not being the most friendliest. Right, being a bit frosty. The one story I think of is the BERT KREISCHER thing, that video live stream thing he did during lockdown, where he tried to, you know, be funny and have a, I don't know, banter with Adam Sandler. He just didn't get it. Like, he wasn't feeling it whatsoever. And personally, I would say BERT KREISCHER is more famous than Brendan Schaub. Wouldn't you say that? You might not like the comedian, but I think BERT KREISCHER is probably more well known or maybe more regarded as seen as a comic than fucking Brendan. So if Adam Sandler didn't know who BERT KREISCHER was and didn't really give a fuck about him, or if he did know him, he didn't really give a fuck, what makes you think Adam Sandler would have went up to Brendan and said, you're the white guy that kicks ass? How does that make sense? Honestly, I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. Leonardo DiCaprio.
I go to a SB like Super Bowl party.
That one is that one should be easily provable or not. If he was at if he was at that UFC fight night that he's talking about, that one I don't really know, because that should be easily provable. There should be you could easily go online and see that day of the card that he was fighting on was The Rock and Leonardo DiCaprio sitting next to each other. That should be easily disprovable. So that one I'll give him it. Right? I mean, that might be true. Who knows?
Party with Tim Tebow, we walk in and then Michael Irvin's there, like surrounded by a ton of people. You know, he's the life of the party. Like, and he sees me and he goes, Schaub, get over here, baby. I'm like, oh, what's up, baby? You know, and there's all these people. I go to grab his hand and he grabs my head, folds me down and kisses the top of my head in front of everybody.
How do you know him, Dick?
We did the tournament together, the charity tournament together. But I still fucked him.
What? In what universe do you think Michael Irvin knows who Brendan Schaub is? Oh my god. That's the most made. Again, I watch clips online of like those fucking ESPN shows where all the football guys are shouting at each other, right, about stats and shit. And just from his demeanor, how he carries himself, how well regarded he is, Hall of Famer, blah, blah. I just can't picture in my mind any scenario where Michael Irvin and Brendan Schaub would be friends or would know each other. Like, how would he know who he is? In what capacity? Football. He didn't play. Like, what? UFC. Does Michael Levin watch UFC? I don't think so. Rogan. I don't think Michael Levin watches Rogan. Like, he's probably watching videos of Charleston White. He's not tuning in to see Rogan and Brendan Shaw pontificate about fucking apes and cold plunges. Yo. Okay, that one caught me off guard. Michael Irvin. All right, cool, man. I guess.
Because Travis Barker's my boy. Travis is one of the best
Travis
people I know. Travis is literally one of the best people on earth, and he fucks with him. So
the funny thing about this exchange, sorry to keep stopping, the funny thing about this exchange, Chappelle is such a good guy. This is what good people do. Normal human beings do this, right? Normal human beings, right? I'm doing a Brendan. Normal human beings, if you have a story about somebody famous and you're sharing it, they don't try and one-up you. Even if they know the person personally, even if they know them, you know, they've maybe met them more times than you have, they just let you say it. They let you say your story, and then maybe they'll mention their story after you finished. They don't try and like, oh yeah, you don't, or maybe sometimes they don't even mention it, because I know I don't. Sometimes I let them have the moment, right? I let them have this their time, their space. But the funny thing in this interaction, Chappelle actually knows Travis Barker better than Brendan, because they're running the same sort of like, you know, musical circles and shit, blah 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 blah, and the band is into, some of the guys are mutual friends, and Travis Barker follows Chappelle on Instagram, which is a big deal in that kind of scene, because, you know, these are big celebrities, musicians. A follow kind of means a lot. It's like basically an endorsement of friendship, an acknowledgement that I know you and I like you. So the fact that Travis Barker has actually had communication with Chappelle, has actually been on stage with Chappelle, knows the guys that he knows, to the point where he follows him on Instagram, but Brendan doesn't, and is sharing this made-up story about passing him in a car and he was tailgating him, is hilarious. But then he tries to like shit on Chappelle, make him feel like nothing, but then actually Travis Barker actually knows him and not him. That's the thing that I find funny.
I gotta imagine is a good person.
Thanks for that follow, Travis.
He's great. Rick Ross texted me because I was talking about yeah, how crazy is that? I can't believe that's 2023 for you. Rick Ross DM me. Sorry, I didn't text. DM me and has this. And talking about fish tanks. I'm ballsy with fish tanks, and we posted about it. He must have saw it because he DM me. I told you when I was working the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight, I went to the restaurant and his whole team, all of them were coming out. And he goes, "I know you. You're the white boy who works too much." That's me, dude.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's me, dude.
Wow.
He's like, "You're all over, man." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm exhausted."
Why doesn't he ever have bad interactions? That's the one thing that's a telling sign of this, because again, I'm not really a fan of this whole that whole thing anyway, of like celebrity telling. It's just weird, isn't it? Even if you do meet them in real life, I think if you're part of the industry and you're also, you know, like Brendan is, you're a part of the industry, you're a person, it's just odd to always be sharing every interaction you've had, because maybe sometimes you might meet them somewhere and you're the only person that's well known that's seen them. They don't want you, sometimes just keeping stum about certain things is like, I don't know, it's a better way to kind of like, you know, maybe cultivate a relationship or something. Do you understand what I mean? It's a bit corny, a little bit sucky-arsey and stuff, but I'd imagine in that world, sometimes keeping stum about who you met in public, and not mentioning it in public, can actually go a long way to kind of help your foster relationship to people, because they know, okay, cool, this one's one of the normal guys who can be trusted, whatever, and he might be welcome to the crew. I don't know, just that thing is weird. Cool. But if you want to be that guy, I also find it very interesting how he never seems to have a bad interaction. And we do. Us regular people, civilians, as they like to call us, we might meet somebody who's generally chill and nice on a bad day and have a bad interaction with them. It happens all the time. It's just, you know, we're humans, sometimes they've had a bad day. But I find it interesting how he never seems to have a bad interaction with a celebrity. It's always they are fawning over him. That's always the red flag in these stories. It's always like, no matter who the celebrity is, from Casey Affleck, like a fucking legit Hollywood fucking actor, right, to like the biggest stars in music, they always seem to go to him. It's never like he was, I don't know, he was in somewhere and he was like, he saw fucking, I don't know, Jennifer Aniston and was trying to run after her to get an autograph. No, it's always Jennifer Aniston was in fucking Irvine and she saw him and said, "Hey, you're that guy on Rogan, right?" Like, bruh, really? Anyway, let's continue.
The Rock.
6'2". He's 6'2". I'm in the elevator. It was just no. It was just two of us at a
Did you say anything?
Just what's up?
Just up, The Rock. He said what?
Said he was a fan. I said I want to fucking fight him. He's not.
All of that sounds made up.
Yeah. Our phones. It was an Oscar party and everyone's in tuxedos, so there's no cell phones.
I've been to those parties.
And Will Smith asked me to.
How convenient. The one party you meet Will Smith at, there's no cell phones. How convenient.
Will Smith asked me if I did private training.
He did?
Who? Mm-hmm. Will Smith was like, "Hey man,
you're the reason why he punched Buddy in the face."
Yo,
the reason he slapped old boy.
Oh, I didn't train.
You're
with
the
him.
reason why Chris Rock.
No, I didn't train with him.
You didn't take him up on it.
I get different vibes.
What'd you
from
say
that.
to him?
No.
Want me to hold mitts for you?
You didn't say no.
I promise you, as a guy, well, at the time as a current UFC fighter, I'm like, oh, I don't like hold mitts, done.
Do you know? Have you met Kanye?
I don't hold mitts like he's above it. Like the attitude that this guy has, man. Imagine the attitude that he has, like he's above holding mitts for Will Smith. I'm sorry, but as a dude, we all have like our male actor heroes, right? Or guys that we kind of love and obsess. I don't know where. I think fighters probably have the same thing. They must have certain, maybe you might not be a guy that wants to train people, maybe because you don't know how to do it, but there are certain guys that you just maybe look at and think, you know what, I kind of always wanted to be you. You're an amazing inspiration. I think you've done whatever, something. You'd think you'd maybe want to just for the clout of it, forget impress, just for the fucking story of it, you maybe want to take him up on his offer, Will Smith, right? Just for the story of being able to tell your friends, God, guess what? I fucking held mitts for fucking Will Smith. You got pictures of him in the fucking, in the gym with you, whatever, like in rash guards and shit. That'd be pretty cool as a story just to tell and to share with your friends. But not Brendan. He's above holding mitts for Will Smith. He's above it. Will Smith who? Oh, I fucking love this guy.
Yes. What about him, dude?
Have you talked to him? Spent time with him? He knows who you are?
I doubt it. Probably just a white boy with a face, man.
Anyway, that's it. You get the gist of it, innit? Like, absolutely insane amount of people. Like, the list so far. Eminem. I think that was Adam Sandler, right? That was Adam Sandler. Who else we got here? Who have I missed? Eminem, Adam Sandler, again, Leonardo DiCaprio, all right? You see these stories? I think this was Michael Irvin, and then we've got, I think, The Rock, Rick Ross, right? Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul's team, The Rock, and then at the end, Will Smith, Kanye West, and Kim Kardashian, like, or the Kardashians or something. It's just like, bro. And also think about it this way. Brendan's very like image conscious. He cares about how he looks, how he's perceived online. And for the point where like allegedly he buys views and shit, like he cares about all that stuff, right? Followers, all that stuff. Would you think Brendan's the kind of guy who would meet all those people and not take a picture? Think about that. Do you think Brendan's the type of guy who would meet all these people and not take a fucking selfie? Really? Come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, the way he's always fucking giggly and happy to run around and take selfies with like legit comedians that maybe maybe in the hopes that those pictures will maybe solidify him and make him look like a legit comedian also. Do you think you honestly pass a chance to not take a picture with Casey Affleck and Leonardo DiCaprio and Will Smith and Rick Ross and Kanye and Michael Irvin? Do you honestly think he'd pass that opportunity? Like, come on, man. Come on. And again, I'm one of these people, like, I'm too naive. I'm too fucking benefit of the doubty, whatever that fucking term is. I honestly think there's some truth to a lot of these stories. I just think he embellishes them too much. Was he at a party somewhere in Hollywood during the heydays of his UFC, or maybe some few years ago at some fucking Hollywood mixer where people are serving cocktails and, chin wagging and shit, and he may have saw Michael Irvin across the room? Possibly. Was there an occasion maybe at one UFC fight card early in his career, he might have saw, Casey Affleck standing around in the stadium as he was going to his seat? Possibly. Would I believe that he might have spoken to Will Smith's trainer, and Will Smith's trainer said to him, hey, would you mind training Will Smith and being part of his training team? Maybe. but he said Will Smith asked him, can he hold mitts? So all these stories probably have an inkling of truth, but he just adds more to it because he just is he's just a pathological liar. Like, that's basically it. The guy's a pathological liar. That's it. He's just a pathological liar. He can't help it. Like, there's truth to his stories, yet he still lies because he just loves to lie. I guess that's it. It's just like, I can't get it. Like, oh my God. Oh, anyway. Yeah, man. What's it? Uche said he's so bad at lying. I was so bad for him. You know, that's the thing about him. I don't even think he thinks he's bad at. I'm gonna throw something out there. I don't think he thinks he's bad at lying. I think he thinks he's good at it because he's exaggerating real stories. Like, he's doing what Bert does when Bert exaggerates a real story, so to make it funny or to make it more interesting. That's what he's when these interactions. So I think he doesn't think he's lying. It's like I'm trying to think of what people do, because I don't lie like this. Like, it's just not worth it. I just don't give a fuck. So it's just whatever. So I'm trying to think of a thing that people do when they lie. Because I think the telltale sign if you're lying is if you start to like scream, you start to get really animated and really sensitive, right, and emotional. But some people sometimes do a thing where like they try and appear really like not bothered, but then obviously they are bothered. You know what I mean? Like, they try and basically convince you that they're not lying by trying to act as like chill as possible, but they exude anxiety and nervousness and shit. I think that's what he does with the exaggerations. I think he feels like if a story has a thread of truth and he just adds a bit to it, it's not going to be obvious. But what he doesn't understand is that the whole fucking story just sounds insane because we don't believe as regular civilians, we don't believe that Brendan is of the level of celebrity where all these people would know who he is, number one. Right? And also would go out of their way to always acknowledge him first. That's the thing that we don't understand. Because even in your local neighborhood, right, in your local community, in your local scene, there are people who are like a little bit more well known than you are, who if you message them on Instagram and you ask them a question or something, they'll leave you on scene. Sometimes they won't even open your DM, right? But Brendan is wanting us to believe that some of the most famous people within their fields, super busy, super rich, whatever they're doing, busy, whatever it is, would make the time out of their day to reply to him first, to acknowledge him in public first, to cry in front of him. Like, come on, Brendan, man, come on, brother. You lie so bad. So bad. But I think in his head, he thinks he's lying good because it's the truth, but I'm adding a little lie to it, you know? Oh, but yeah. Yeah, true. Nut boy juice. Lying requires good memory. Papa has CTE, so his lies are evident. That's so true. Oh my God, man. Remember when he talked about big up Stinger, good, appreciate you, bro.
This show is brought to you by Happy Hippo.
Exactly. Stinger, thank you. Yeah, appreciate you, brother. Happy Hippo, man. That fucking snake oil shit. But big up about Stinger, good, appreciate you, bro. Let me see. This is a good comment, actually. This is really, yes, you got it, Marty Moose. I think most of his celebrity interactions actually go down like it did with Mike Tyson. They hate his guts. It's super awkward, so he makes something positive up. Yes, exactly. But I also think if we didn't have footage of that, if we didn't have footage of what happened with Mike Tyson, he would have told the story another way. He would have said something like, oh, Mike Tyson was asking me for like takedown defense advice or something. That's what he would have said. So he would have met him, which we've seen on camera. They've met a couple of times, but he would have just made the story like Mike was sucking his dick. That's the thing that he always wants in his interactions. He always wants Mike. Yeah, exactly. Mike Tyson's a huge fan. Mike Tyson would have to be the fan of his, not the other way around. It wouldn't be like, oh my God, I met Mike Tyson. I feel so embarrassed because we were in the toilets and I just kept talking to him and I didn't realize we were in the toilets, and then he had to like tell me to like calm down because I was getting a bit awkward. Because I'm just so excited. I'm a big Mike Tyson fan. I just kept following him around the room. There's no like self-deprecating, embarrassing story with a celebrity. It's always he's the fucking A side. Like, you know what I mean, he's the fucking main mic all the time, and they're the ones fucking trying to get his attention. It's just like, come on, bro. For me, the Casey Affleck one's the biggest one. That's the biggest red flag. Casey Affleck was fucking crying because you were still fighting. Like, what? Is that mean? He might as well said Ben Affleck. Honestly, I didn't know why he even said Casey. He should have just said Ben Affleck. Just say Ben Affleck. Just go all the way. Just go for the most famous brother. Say Ben Affleck. Fuck it. Like, what? Like, you watch interviews of Casey. The reason I say the Casey Affleck thing, but you watch interviews of Casey Affleck, and he comes across super chill, pretty chill as actors go. One of the best actors actually out there, right? Very underrated, but also seems very chill. So like, if you wanted me to believe that story, I actually think going for Ben Affleck as an option would be better. He's a more famous one, but he's also known to be a bit more emotional, right? He can, he has his mood swings here and there. Honestly, Ben Affleck would be a way better story to tell as a lie, because I might believe that, because we've seen instances of Ben Affleck losing it, right? Famously, that Sam Harris interview thing on that guy's show at one time. And we've seen other instances of him, having altercations in public and shit. He's clearly like, a little bit more emotional, a little bit more sensitive than Ben. Maybe mention him. But Casey, like, why would he even know you? And why would he care about you to that extent to be crying? Like, because I don't deny he could be a UFC fan. He could be a big UFC guy. Maybe. But anyway, let's not go over it too much, because, the guy lies. It is what it is. Brian rapes, Brendan lies. What can you do? Moving on. So this clip is really funny too, right? This one's a fucking hilarious one, because this is another evidence to me that Chris at one point just accepted his situation. I think deep down, he knows he's never going to be in Hollywood again like that, like he was before. No Netflix shows, no Netflix specials, no big TV show that he's going to be on, no big movie, after the whole diddler allegations and pedo shit. And now he essentially is in a position in life where he's actually having to rely on Brendan Schaub for his salary, which is probably humiliating, right? Because I'm sure at one point in his career he actually thought he was better than Brian and Brendan, but now they are work colleagues, right? Or he's basically Brendan's employee, or Brendan's his boss, whatever way. I'm sure it kind of irks him. And also Brendan has this thing that he does where I feel like he doesn't have the chops to be like funny and to be like, banter and to like rib each other and shit. So his way to kind of like make up for not having good jokes and comebacks and shit is to get physical. He does that thing that a lot of kind of like, what's that thing called? Guys do that don't have a good sense of humor, right? They just get physical and start fucking fighting. And Chris is not that kind of guy. Yeah, clearly you can tell. And he starts touching him a lot, and you can tell it makes Chris's skin crawl. But he's also too much of a pussy to say anything to Brendan. He's more than able to fucking, manipulate and gaslight and abuse young girls. But when it comes to standing up to another guy, he can't do it. So he's not said anything to Brendan. You can see he's just kind of accepted it. So he's accepted the luck. That's his position that he's in. He's going to get physically abused by Brendan. He has to kind of rely on him to pay his fucking wages and shit. And he also has realized via this clip that Brendan doesn't understand humor. He doesn't understand comedy. And this is the clearest example as to why Brendan will never be a funny stand-up comedian, because fundamentally his brain just doesn't work like that. It's not even his fault. Just his brain isn't wired the way a comedian's brain will be wired to always kind of like, what type of option to go for in a joke, what type of thread to pull. He just doesn't have it in him. So let's look at this exchange. This is fucking hilarious. No. This is really, really good exchange. Let's play this. I don't know why it does that sometimes, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's get rid of that. Let's just make it really, put it there.
But the thing is look, if the story is so outdated, then make a new story.
Yeah.
But not call it Snow White.
No, but it's like there's nothing wrong with like Yeah, we like this.
They
So,
should
so
have called her Snow Brown, honestly.
yeah, exactly.
Snow Black.
That could have been cool.
Snow Brown. That's what I said.
Snow Brown.
Snow Black.
Don't do.
Snow Black.
Snow
Right?
Brown is better. Don't make the joke worse by tagging it worse.
Well, no, you want Snow Black.
Why?
Because
explain why.
Yeah, let's hear this.
Why? Because you want views, right?
Yeah.
Snow Black, like it's exaggerated. Brown, that could be anything. Is she Indian?
But that's why it's Snow Brown. You don't know what she is. Oh fuck, dude.
We want black.
No, I want snow mixed.
Snow
mixed snow.
Mixed snow. That'd be the name of it.
Ooh.
But that's coming to
How about
Fox.
just rain,
dude? Yeah, like that was brutal, right? And first of all, you have to give Chris credit for acknowledging that the initial joke was bad anyway, right? Snow Brown is a fucking horrendous joke, pretty shit. But at least it makes sense, right? Because the actress that's gonna play Snow White is clearly brown, right? It's clearly so that makes more sense that she's clearly been, talking a lot about representation and blah 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 and reinterpreting the story, and it's been a whole big culture war thing. So it makes sense why why that would be the funnier joke to go for. The Snow Black thing makes no sense because that's not what the conversation's about. The actress playing it isn't black, that's not what the story is. Anyways, that for me is the precise example as to why Brendan will never be funny, unfortunately, because his brain isn't wired in that way. It just doesn't. It doesn't fucking. It's not even a sense of humor thing. It's just more so that like joke writer type of like pun thing. What's the tag? What's the punchline? He just hasn't got it. It's just a strange approach like to go for, because again, it's a terrible joke anyway to start with. It's a terrible joke. Let's not fucking mince our words. It's a shit joke, right? The whole subject around Snow White is fucking boring anyway, right? It's another cultural war thing that people are fucking milking until the cows go home. That girl's become, she's the new fucking who's the girl that played Captain Marvel? She's the new thingy for the culture war whip. She's a new whipping boy for those guys that talk about fucking, the representation in movies and shit. What's her name? The girl that everyone hates. Blonde girl. Captain Marvel or Marvel, whatever if that fucking shit is called. She's a new one. So it's just boring, the whole topic. But at least Chris tried. Yes, her name. Brie Larson. Yo, big up everybody in the chat. Yeah, yes. Big up Talking Up Thrones here. Big up. Nice to see you, my friend. Big up everybody else is here. What is the show gets blacked? Exactly. Marty Moose. He has zero wit. There we go. That's what I was looking for. That's the phrase. Zero wit. Ucha said, "Look, yes, Chris is actually in purgatory. Yeah, for sure." And again, it's no consolation to the victims, because if what he's accused of is true, then they probably want him under a jail. But let's be fair, like, this is also pretty brutal. The guy has to legitimately work with Brendan more than he ever probably intended to in his entire life. And he actually needs him. He needs this salary is like important, because he doesn't have anything else coming in from Hollywood. Because you'd imagine the guy was probably making a killing when he was at his top, when he was at his fucking pomp, right? When he was at the top of his game, no one knew what he did behind closed doors. He was probably raking in the dough. So there's a lot of money to make. There's a big, gap to make up, and, Golden Hour goes somewhere along the way to pay for that. So he kind of needs to keep this job, which is hilarious. But then he also has to be subjected to Brendan not understanding the concepts of jokes and constantly touching him and touching his balls, touching his chest, touching his arm, which he clearly doesn't like. He's not a touchy-feely guy, which is ironic too, because, of what he's been accused of. The Watcher. So he has the same mentality. What's it here? He has the same mentality since the first UFC. It shows in interviews talking about haters and how with the sit down and talk with him, he don't change his mind. What else you got saying here? Mrs. Marvelous Marble. No, I'm talking about Brie Larson. Sorry, that girl's gonna play Snow White. Is basically the new Brie Larson for the what you call it, for the movie, TV, entertainment, culture war type of people, like the Nerdrotics, all those kind of channels. Because a lot of them make a lot of sense. I do like their channels and their arguments, but I just think it's a bit, you know, it's a way. You're just shouting into the wind, isn't it? Because most of these big production companies and organizations are, you know, they are the way they are for a reason, and there's very little, you know, it's not going to change anytime soon, basically, unfortunately. But yeah, I do like some of their positions, but I think sometimes they can maybe just be a dead horse when it comes to that sort of stuff. But also the girl playing Snow White, like I don't know if she's been told by Disney, whoever's producing that movie, to say what she says in interviews, but she's not helping her cause, man. Because every time she talks, you're fucking thinking, woman, please, man, just do the movie, play the role, promote it. Like, I don't know what she's doing, man. It's a bit weird. She's really going our way not to make people to watch it, but hey, you know, we'll have our think. Okay, this clip is all fucking let's create a clip of Rogan, because this clip of Rogan is I don't know how to say this clip of Rogan. Like, my Rogan thing, again, I'm always gonna love Rogan because my introduction basically to podcasting was mainly through Rogan, Tim Ferriss, Bill Burr, and a few other people, right? So they always have a special place in my heart. But I think the older you get, the more, and the older Rogan gets, the more he just sounds like an idiot. Like, unfortunately, like, don't get me wrong, there was never a time in my life where I thought the guy was a fucking Nobel Prize winning level intelligence, but sometimes you think to yourself, like, does this guy actually believe the words that he says? Like, does he actually legitimately believe it, or does he believe it because he's in a bubble, or does he believe it because he's like redacted? Like, I don't know which way to kind of think about this sort of shit, but sometimes I think it's a bubble thing, because Joe's been a influential celebrity multi-millionaire for most of his adult life, and to a level that's really unfathomable. Like, Joe's like crazy level famous. So because of that, and because everyone sucks his dick, it's very difficult for him to be like self-aware, and to just, you know, get it. He just can't, because it's just impossible. He's a grown man that has other grown men sucking his dick. It's hard to be normal and well adjusted that way. So when you hear him say the things he's saying, sometimes it makes sense because, you know, he's just surrounded by fucking sycophants. But this is a funny clip. This is one of the most hilarious clips I've seen in a while, because I watched it, I was thinking, hold on, does Joe actually think this? Hear what Joe has to say here. This is fucking hilarious.
You're 40 years old, you got a mortgage, you got kids, you're working all day, you don't have time. You don't have time to be paying attention to this shit. You know, we're very fortunate that we're comics, so we have the day to do whatever the fuck we want, and we can read things that maybe, you know, we send each other, or watch a documentary or something, and get a new perspective.
So only comics can read things because they don't have 9-to-5s. They're the only ones that can be informed. They're the only ones that can take part in like culture war discussions and shit. Like, does he not use Twitter? Does he think everybody on Twitter has a podcast and makes as much money as he does and is a stand-up comedian? Most of those guys are tweeting from their desks at work. Most of those guys are tweeting on their phones in like warehouses or like whatever jobs they're doing. He honestly thinks the only people that are participating in these conversations are like rich people that have like time to do so. Like, this guy is fucking, if anything, it's actually way more pathetic for somebody like Rogan and for people in his position to be participating in culture war things. It's actually way more pathetic. It's actually way more pathetic for somebody like him to be like screaming from the rooftops about, you know, drag queens in fucking schools and shit, because your kids are never going to be affected. Why do you give a fuck? They go to private schools. They go to schools that shit's never going to run. Regular people should be the ones up in arms for that stuff if you care about it, right? That's the ones you should be caring about it. But if you actually got wealth and you got money, why are you wasting time arguing about these nonsense things on social media when they don't affect you? You know what I mean? And then insulting the intelligence of people and saying, yeah, they don't have time to read because they work so much. Like, where are these people working? Are they working in fucking cotton fields or something? Is that what Rogan thinks? Rogan thinks that if you're black and you're not in the UFC, you're picking cotton or something. So you don't have time to read books. Like, honestly, Rogan is legitimately insane. Like, I don't know if he's redacted, if he's like just surrounded by, he's just in like in a crazy bubble where all of his friends, he's got no friends with regular jobs. Like, I don't know. It's just a funny thing to just observe him say sometimes, like his lack of like awareness of the world around him and how other people act in it and shit is always hilarious to me. But then I also imagine how hard it is to be Rogan, really and truly. Like how hard it is to be a grown man that isn't like, you know, famous for like sports or something, or like music, you know, like not in a conventional way of famous, but he's like famous than most people. Like it's a bit of a trip. It must be a bit of a trip. And then to all to happen in like your mid-30s or late 40s for you to go suddenly from being like a relatively known person to suddenly being the most well-known person in the world, and also incredibly wealthy, and also a bit of a kingmaker, a bit of a gatekeeper. Like it must be hard, man. Like day to day, like it must be difficult to be like well adjusted and normal, like, and chill. It just must be. I swear it is, because like the way these guys talk about Rogan, like think about how these guys talk about Rogan on their podcast. Now imagine how they must be around him in person, because we see how they act on pods when they're with him, and you see Brendan rabbiting and parroting what fucking Rogan's saying. Sorry, can you imagine how cringy and how lick-ass and fucking, you know, just submissive they must be in public when they're with him? And he must feel that, you know what I mean? You must feel that, like around him, like they all just like waiting for a chance to like ask him when they could go in a pod, asking for money, like advice, wanting to talk to him and pretend they're friends. Like it just must be so palpable, the fucking thirst and the, you know, just, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's hard for that not to corrupt your brain. That's all I'm saying, really. I'm thinking about the quote from Foundation of the series. I think not the episode, maybe 6 or something. One of the actors in it, who's like a cult leader, is like, "Oh, don't like worship children. It never ends well." Like that kind of thing, right? And I think it's the same thing goes to this. Like, don't really overly worship, you know, regular middle-aged men when they get famous, because sometimes it can turn them into absolute. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. What you gotta say? Yeah, Hulk Hogan's cool as fuck. Crazy to know he's 70 years old. Yeah, I need to watch, actually. I need to watch that. I don't understand the hate that Tony Hinchcliffe gets, man. I really don't. I know he can be a bit annoying on Kill Tony, but people really dislike Tony Hinchcliffe. I don't know what that is about him. Maybe because they feel he's inauthentic. I don't know. I don't really understand the hate that Tony Hinchcliffe gets on the Reddits and stuff. People do not like Tony Hinchcliffe. Like, again, his personality on Kill Tony can be annoying, but he seems pretty harmless. I don't really understand it. That one's another Kalila for me. I don't really get the thing about that. He looks like one of those fun people from the Sky Kids. Yeah. That's hilarious. I always say, I think depending who you believe in, I think the universe kind of gives people the things, or God gives people things that only they can handle, right? And never gives them too much. Because I've always said, if you think Rogan's annoying now, if you're not a fan of Rogan's personality, you don't like how he acts, how he conducts himself, blah, 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 how he speaks, his opinions on things, maybe the way he's kind of leaning into the right nowadays, can you imagine how much insufferable and how more obnoxious Rogan would be if he had like long flowing hair and he was like 6'6"? Can you imagine how he would be? If you don't like Rogan now, can you imagine how unbearable he would be if he was a 6'6" former Navy SEAL with like a man bun? So I think the universe did all of us a favor by making this, you know, this little leprechaun of a man one of the most famous guys in the world, because it's clearly a bit of an insecurity, right? Because always, whenever he's in the pictures, he's always fucking standing like he's got a fucking golf fucking, you know, golf club up his ass or something, right? And he's always wearing like super stacked, like, you know, stacked big boot shoes and shit. It's funny how he kind of walks around. But if he was 6'6" and a former Marine, yo, he would be unbearable. He would be legitimately unbearable. So thank you, the Lord above, for for making him the way he is. Crash says Adam22 is going to call you tomorrow for an interview about your viral comment. Gerard. Oh yeah, true. Is it? He should actually. That should be really good. I think he should do that, to be fair. Talking Phone said just don't get enough pushback by people around him because they're scared to bite the hand that feeds them. He also doesn't know how many people disagree with him because he doesn't read comments. Yeah, to be fair, I think Joe Rogan's the one person I believe that doesn't read comments, and I think he shouldn't. The level of celebrity that he's at, I think there's certain level of celebrity you shouldn't. If you're Leonardo DiCaprio, you shouldn't be on social media. Because the way people talk about you, they basically talk about you like you're a pedo, right? You shouldn't be on there because it's going to break your brain. I think certain levels of celebrity should never be on social and should never read it. It's not beneficial to them. And I think Rogan clearly has a team around him that lets him know certain things. So he's aware of what happens, but he's not in the weeds of knowing what's happening. I think that's why he's been able to be so... He's been able to kind of be around for so long, basically, because of his, that kind of distance he puts between himself and the audience and the comments and shit. I think it's probably beneficial. The pushback thing, it's also partly his fault. He doesn't really like to be pushed back. Like, I love Rogan, but if you really think about some of his interviews and his things, he tends to get people on that generally agree with him. He doesn't really like pushback, really, if you think about it. Especially on like very hot button topics. He just has his, he's settled in his ways of what he thinks about certain things. He gets experts on to kind of confirm his things, and that's it. He rarely has pushback, which I think is really a shame, because I think someone like a Bo Burnham, for instance, right, who's very progressive, very liberal, a very, very like actual liberal, not Rogan's type of liberal. I think a Bo Burnham would be a really interesting conversation to have on a podcast because of his fucking experience producing specials. He's a legit, proper, super funny guy, and he has really insightful opinions, super smart about the world, right? And from a very leftist, liberal type of that'd actually make a better interview than him sitting down with Dave Smith. Do you know what I mean? And fucking Mike fucking Baker. You know what I mean? Like, that would make it fun, but he doesn't like it. So I think that is more so Rogan's thing. He doesn't like to be pushed back. He doesn't. He just prefers to have like an echo chamber around him, which is a big shame, to be fair. Because, oh yeah, Jared Mellerick. Are you saying that about Tony Hinchcliffe? Because he's gay but won't say. I wonder if that is true. People kind of feel the fact that he's a closeted homosexual and that's why they don't like him, because he's being unauthentic. I don't know if I buy that. I just think people just have a boner to pick over Tony Hinchcliffe. That doesn't make sense for me, but maybe it's me. Jared Merrick said the voice, the wet lips, the teeth, the baby face. Okay, there's a lot there with a snobby gay guy's attitude. Okay, cool. There's a lot there. I don't know. I don't buy the Tony Hinchcliffe is gay thing. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, I don't buy it, man. I've consumed enough American content to know, like, you guys have a really broad spectrum when it comes to guys and how they act and their, what masculinity looks like. I just think you just wonder. You're telling me you've never met a person like Tony Hinchcliffe before in your life? Guys over there in America, really? For sure. Come on, man. He's not. I don't know. He doesn't come across very gay to me. He just has a different way of carrying himself as a guy. It's just, I don't know. Or maybe that says a lot about how people sometimes view masculinity, right? If you're Tony and you have that kind of voice and you carry yourself in that way, you just have to be gay. Because I think a lot of you American guys, for some reason, could never understand. Like, I was surprised a lot of the comedians didn't realize that Tim Dillon was gay, or were surprised because he has like a raspy voice and he shouts. It's like, what do you think all gay guys sound like or act like? Do they all have to be like queens or something? It's really interesting. I don't know. But anyway, maybe because I've got experience being around a lot of people from those communities, from the parties I go to, and just generally maybe Europe is a bit different, but it's just it's a spectrum, isn't it? It's a range. Free comments. Alpha males stand alone and would not be part of the us. He comes across super. Okay, everyone say gay. Okay, cool. Fair enough. Maybe it's just me. I'm not reading gay from him. I swear to God, I'm not reading gay when it comes to Tony Hinchcliffe. He can be a bit obnoxious and a bit insufferable and a bit of a cunt. Like, he's not somebody that I would want as a friend. Like, he kind of gives me Ari Shaffir vibes, but I don't think he's gay. Like, it's just, That's not my initial reaction to Tony Hinchcliffe. But again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Us Americans have straight and gay stereotypes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I don't know. I don't know. Like, are you allowed to say, can you just say somebody's a bitch, a guy, without calling them gay? Is that not possible? Because Tony could just be a bitch. You guys could just be responding to that bitch energy that he has, right? He's a bit of a Randall. He's got that bit of a vibe about him, right? The kind of guy that will call the police on you if you shout at him, and you know, if you go into a disagreement over a parking space, he might call the police. But that doesn't mean he's gay. You know what I mean? Like, I think you guys are taking it a bit too far. Just because he's a bitch doesn't mean he's gay. It's just like, I don't know. Also, talking about the gay thing. Hold your thought. Hold your fucking thought, guys. Talking about the gay thing, because you're going to be in for a fucking shock when I show you this, because I was blown away when I saw this, because this doesn't make any sense to me personally. So, talking about the whole gay thing, please let me know what your opinion is on this, right? So, the whole Tony Hinchcliffe, it's going to tie with the Tony Hinchcliffe conversation. So, the Tony Hinchcliffe conversation goes something like this, right? Because Rogan, and again, I don't like this about Rogan, because I think this is really kind of like, how do you describe it? It's almost, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, as much as I love Rogan, I think if I was another comedian, and because I think Rogan does this thing, if you notice on his shows, he sometimes does this thing where he talks about other stand-up comedians without mentioning their names, and does like, but talks about stuff that he doesn't like about them or something, right? As like a lesson for everybody in the podcast. Like, he used to do it to Bert a lot. You talk about Bert, you talk about having a friend that drinks too much, and, you know, giving all these fucking lectures around his drinking issues, and basically talking about him in public without mentioning it, but everyone knows he's kind of talking about him. And I'd kind of not like that as a friend, if I was a friend of his. And he also does this thing with a gay thing, where he keeps mentioning all the time on his podcast, he has this very close friend who's, you know, maybe a comedian, may not be a comedian, who has a family, and everybody knows in the industry that he's gay, but he's afraid to come out. And Rogan be like, oh, I don't care, he should don't give a fuck, it's 2023, do what you want. But him mentioning it, and even not mentioning a name, I feel like puts undue pressure on that person who doesn't want to come out. Do you know what I mean? It's just not, it just feels a bit icky. So the running theory is that he's always talking about Tony Hinchcliffe. That's a running theory, which makes no sense, because Tony doesn't have a family. Because Joe's always said, maybe that's a misdirect, but people always say it's Tony Hinchcliffe. Now look at this post, courtesy of the BERT KREISCHER subreddit. This is fucking wild. Somebody said this: on the most recent episode of Red Bar, titled Red Bar Symposium 2023, comedian Jen Kirkman participated in by leaving a voicemail. On the voicemail, she states that BERT KREISCHER is a closeted gay man, and that all his anxiety and alcoholism is a result of his closeted homosexuality. It's behind a paywall, but the clip is at 6:25:05 seconds. Can you imagine that after all this time of people predicting that it might be, or guessing that it might be Tony Hinchcliffe, that the person that Rogan might be talking about this whole time was BERT KREISCHER? So that might make some relation to that clip of Bert having that weird moment with Tom Segura on a podcast where he was questioning his sexuality. This doesn't make any sense to me personally. I don't think this is true. I think this Jen Kirkman person, whoever she is really, really talking out their ass. But if it is true, it's hilarious, because the whole internet, the whole LA podcasting scene of fans is convinced that Tony is the gay one. Imagine if it's fucking BERT KREISCHER. Can you imagine that? I don't know. I just don't think it's true. I just can't picture, like, BERT doesn't give me gay vibes at all. Don't get me wrong. BERT wouldn't be scared to kiss a guy for marketing purposes, right? You know BERT, right? He would do anything to sell a ticket. He wouldn't be remiss to kiss a guy for a viral clip or something. Cool. But BERT KREISCHER being attracted to men, come on, let's be real. Let's be fucking real. Like, let's be real. Yeah, exactly. bodybuilding news. He's a frat guy. He's done some gay things. Cool for sure. I think he's spoken about doing that thing, innit? That frat guys do, which is incredibly gay, but they don't think it is. Where if a guy's sleeping and their mouth's open, you like, you know, stick your little wee-wee in there. Like, I don't know what kind of game that is, because it doesn't sound like a game to me. That sounds like a fucking orgy or something, right? But I've heard it, again, I'm not going to put any smart in his name, but I think I've heard Bert mention those kind of games, those kind of like, you know, razzings that they have. Exactly, Jared Millerick. That's sexual assault. But, I don't know. Imagine you waking up and you've got your friend's piece inside your mouth, and then he just tells you it's a prank. How would you react? It's a prank, and then your friends get annoyed at you for not being okay with it. And they try and make you feel bad for it. Like, imagine they try and make you be okay. Like, because that's the thing. Think about it this way: even if you are gay, that's still sexual assault. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't actually work either way. It doesn't work if you're straight. It doesn't also work if you're gay, because you know the guy just slipped it in while you were sleeping. That's some fucking like, what's that short guy that said that story? What's his name? That comedian. The small guy. That's some Brad Williams shit. Do you know what I mean? That's some Brad Williams shit. That was just a prank, man. We're just being boys. Boys will be boys. Locker room shit. Like, excuse me? You can't just stick your piece in my mouth like that while I'm sleeping, bro. That's not how it goes. Anyway, quickly check again. I've got half an hour left just to run through this stuff. Quickly check in with Comedy Mothership. Let's see what they're saying here. Oh yeah. Oh, Jen Mellerick. What a fucking quote. I mean, hey, smoke meth, turn the pot. Yeah, exactly. You know what I thought about when you said that? Do you guys remember that famous clip from Your Mum's House? I'm not going to play it because some of you guys are going to be grossed out and I don't want to get age restricted. But that clip of that guy talking about how him and his brother jack off sometimes when they smoke meth. That clip does not ever not make me laugh. That was prime Your Mum's House fucking podcast. Those are the prime years. Yeah, 4 strokes, coiler nose. Oh my god, that clip is so fucking disgusting. But so funny, honestly. But yeah, big up that 4 strokes guy. So let's check in with Comedy Mothership and see what's going on. I haven't checked in the website in a while. I want to see who's playing. What have we got here? Let's see if Brendan's got a weekend. Not yet. Up-and-coming shows. They've got the great and the powerful, what's his fucking name? Brian Simpson. They've got Ron White doing a show. Ron White's part of the furniture over there, isn't it? Because I guess he lives there as well, so he plays there all the time, so that's pretty cool. I like Ron White. You've got Solid Comedy Show, which is Derek Poston and Ehsan Hamad, which is funny. Brendan's former writers have got are basically residents over there or have been passed, however that is. You got Rogan and Friends, Brian Simpson again. You've got a Comedy Mother showcase happening, which I think is, I guess, an open mic, right? Oh no, it's not. It's Al Booker. Okay, cool. So I guess this is Adam Eagle's night. This is here. Al Booker, Adam Eagle has put together a lineup of some of the best local talent. So I guess these are people maybe from the open mic, or maybe people he just sees and likes and kind of wants to give a shot and then maybe see if they can work out to have later bookings. That's pretty interesting. They've got a Christina P show happening. A lot of people in the subreddit also don't think she's funny. I don't mind her, to be fair. She's not the funniest, but I think a lot of people really don't. I think most people don't like her on the pod and then they extend that thing into their stand-up. I think so, because I think she's kind of annoying on Your Mum's House, unfortunately. Even when in the heyday, she was very, very anti-fun. She'd fucking kill bits sometimes, or she got grossed out. But I also like the dynamic. I also like that she sometimes can be silly and be a bit gross like a comedian, but she could also have like her mum woman side can kick in where she's like, you know what, this isn't funny, which also makes it funnier. But yeah, I don't mind Christina P. Let's see some more shows here. Oh, that's it basically. Okay, that's it. No more shows. So you got that. You got the showcase. Oh, you got Jeff Ross playing there. Okay, I wonder if he's alleged underage girlfriend will be allowed in if he performs there, because I think it's over 21s, isn't it? So I think he might have to leave the harem of fucking groupies outside. But big up Jeff Ross, he's going to be performing there. You've got open mics. There's a roast battle happening in September. They got Ari Shafir. Okay, Ari Shafir show. That fucking post is fucking only Ari could do that, innit? Fucking hell. And then you got an Andrew Schultz weekend happening in September as well. 2 dates already sold out. Wow, he's already got 5 dates. No, sorry, 5 shows, sorry. And 4 are sold out. Fucking beast. Jesus Christ. Sam Tallent's got a show happening. I think some people like this Sam Tallent guy. He's been getting a lot of good responses from the Reddits. I've seen people really think he's funny. I personally, I'm going to say something that is a bit mean, unfortunately, because I'm also a very visual person, and I'm also somebody that cares a lot about people's voices and shit. I can't do it, man. Just the way he looks, I just can't do it. I know it's sad to say that, but I know he might be really funny. But I was watching him on fucking Rogan and stuff. I was just like, I just can't. It's a really sad thing because it shouldn't matter, but I just can't. I just can't. And I'm sure he's really funny. So big up Sam Tallent. And then you got David Lucas is doing a night there. Colin Quinn is doing something. Oh, the Colin Quinn Tim Dillon episode was so bad. I love how everybody ragged on it, but yeah, that was one of the worst pods ever, like in the history of podcasts. Like, Colin Quinn is very hot and cold when it comes to pods, but he's also really funny, so I guess it doesn't matter really. But yeah, that Tim Dillon episode was hilariously bad. David Lucas has sold out a bunch of shows as well. That's big for him. They got Kill Tony. Oh, you got Mike Vecchione playing there as well. That's cool. Know him from Joey Diaz stuff. October, you got fucking hell. What do you guys think about Carl Dunnigan? Because if you listen to Rogan, Carl Dunnigan is like the white Dave Chappelle, and I don't get it. That was funny the first couple of times, but like Rogan fucking loves Carl Dunnigan. Like, he just does something to Rogan. I don't know what it is. Like something about Carl Dunnigan's humor. It just gets Rogan. He just fucking loves him. So, you know, it is what it is, but I don't get it. You watch a couple of his skits here and there, and all right, but after a while, I'm like, bro, this is a very particular type of humor, and it's just not for me. He's the one that does those, he's the one that does those, during the lockdown. He kind of blew up during lockdown. He does those, face swap kind of comedy things where he has like he makes his face look like he's I don't know, a Kardashian or something, or Joe Biden, and he says like funny things, and he kind of records himself on social media, you know, saying ridiculous shit in like a Joe Biden-esque accent, with like a face swap thing. How I'm describing it is how shit it is. I'm not even trying to, like, it's just, that's basically what he does. Little skits, and it's just, I don't know, it's not for me. It's not for me. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he is an IG comedian. That's why I'm interested. He's an IG comedian. That's why I'm interested to know what he does on stage. Like, is he gonna do those things on stage? Like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna like just say is he just gonna vote called? I don't know. Like, what's he gonna do on stage? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, roast battle. Reggie Watts is playing. People like him. I haven't really tuned into anything that he does, to be fair. I don't know. I look at Reggie Watts and he kind of gives me Donald Glover vibes. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he's gonna be funny like as a comedic actor, but I don't know if I'd be into his comedy like on stage type of vibe, which is not a bad thing. I think, you know, there's a talent to being a good comedic actor, but he kind of gives me a very good comedic actor and maybe, you know, improv style type of comedy, which I could be wrong. But he also looks like somebody that might play an instrument. Does that make sense? I'm not into instrument shit. Don't play a banjo. Don't get on the piano. None of that Owen Benjamin shit. Like, either tell the jokes or just don't. But there's something about him. He looks like he plays instruments. Looks like he brings out puppets and shit. And I'm like, I'm out. So no thanks to that one. Yanis Papas is playing a show, doing a weekend a day. He sold out some dates, or one date. Well, big up to him. You got Alonzo Bowden. Okay, cool. That's one of them. That's one of Rogan's favorite blacks. One of Rogan's favorite blacks. Alonzo Bowden, like a lover of the motorbike, he's performing there. So big up Alonzo Bowden. And that's about it, right? Oh, and you got Paulie Shorp also doing some dates there. That's good. His mum will be smiling down on him, happy about that, and a few others. So no fucking no Brendan Schaub, unfortunately. No Brendan. We can even type that in. Do the Brendan? Nah, unfortunately. Brian? Nah, unfortunately. Actually, someone did say, I saw on the subreddit, someone said that Brian did perform at fucking at the Comedy Mothership before he did perform there legitimately, but he just wasn't allowed to take pictures, or they didn't take pictures of him. That's what I got told. Well, that's what I saw on the Reddit somewhere. So, which again is just a whole strange thing there, isn't it? If you're okay with having him back on your podcast and he got those rape allegations about him, just book him normally for the shows. It doesn't really matter about at this point. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really see all the fucking cloak and dagger shit. Just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, maybe I'm the redact. And then I want to watch I want to show you this thing as well, because I think this might be a good place to kind of leave it on, because I think this should, in my opinion, put a dampener on some of you guys who have this desire to see Brendan like out on the streets begging for money or something. You know what I mean? I think a lot of some guys or some fans have watched this stuff or are into some of the Brendan content. I think sometimes you underestimate just how much money these guys make. Fair enough, some of them misuse their funds and don't really spend it wisely, and maybe make some poor financial choices, or maybe just fuck up their career like Brendan has. Like, Brendan has really fucked up his career, especially if you look at some of these old clips of Brendan with Rogan on the show, and you see how friendly and bubbly and loving their relationship was, to see how, you know, how it's dissolved now and where they're at now in relationship wise. You can tell they're not as cool as they once were. It's clearly Brendan's fault for letting it get that way. So he clearly has fucked up his own career. But to expect, because he's terrible at stand-up, that he's somehow going to be out on the street sometime is a little bit ridiculous when you think about how much money these guys make on their pods. Like, they make a lot of money, like crazy amounts of money. And I'm going to show you a post that illustrates this, right? This is courtesy of the Final Kid sub, so again, big up them. This person said that they're part of Pure Spectrum, right? And that was the company that Brendan was pushing a while, because his son was suffering from seizures, and he used some of their CBD oils, and it basically helped his son from, you know, not having as bad seizures as before, which is a big thing, I'd imagine, right? Having a kid and seeing him have seizures and stuff and not knowing what to do, and then getting some respite or getting some relief from the CBD was a big deal. So, you know, these guys, I'm assuming, would know quite a bit about Brendan. And the post is as follows: "Hey cats, my name is Dan. I'm a current CEO of Pure Spectrum CBD, and I'm fully aware I do not matter, but I'd want to gauge your interest in doing the AMA. I know our company has been part of the podcast and we enjoyed discussing here. I stepped down as COO in early 2000 because I could no longer work for the visionary. 2 years later in 2021, I was back to perform a hostile takeover and kick him out and right-size the company." So he's clearly a part of this company, so he can give us some insight on, you know, what happened in relationship between them two and whatnot. So just to keep in mind, again, if you're hoping that Brendan's going to be out in the street somewhere begging for money, it's not going to happen. Just, in my opinion, I think the right attitude to have is to enjoy the shit show, because this is like the best version of reality TV, because it's actually real. To see these, you know, privileged, wealthy people in these great positions find ways to consistently fuck up their lives and fuck up their own situations through just hubris and arrogance and entitlement and whatever it may be, is just entertaining to watch. I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking phenomenal. That's why I sit here in the fucking dark talking shit to you guys over the microphone. It's fucking fun. But I think hoping that he gets broke and he has to go and get a regular job, and I think that's a bit much. I think that's a little bit too much hatery energy, right? Already it's enough doing this and talking about him consistently is a bit much. I think going that step aside and wanting him to be desolate and shit and have to put a fucking, you know, for sale sign up in front of his house and sell all his cars, I think that's a bit too much. But even if you're hoping for that, it's not going to happen anytime soon, because this now COO of Pure Spectrum breaks down how much money Brendan was generating for them as a company, and it's gonna blow your mind, right? because I think some of you guys really underestimate how much money these guys make, because I think they do a good job, Rogan being a best example of it. They do a really good job of like cosplaying as like the everyman. I think all comedians do a good job of it, with the exception of maybe like Tom Segura, who kind of chastises his fans for being poor. But I think the real talent of stand-up comedians is that they do a really good job of like cosplaying as like working class or middle class. I don't know how they do it, but they somehow have this vibe where they carry themselves as every man, and regular people kind of buy into it, when really they're not. They're fucking multi-millionaires who live in gated communities, who fly private, who have their kids in all the best private schools and shit, and who make millions a year. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's get that into consideration. So this is an example. Where am I going to see it? Let me see if I can find the one where you said about the money. Bear with me a second. I'm trying to find it. I'm scrolling. There we go. Here. So I read it, asked the guy, right, who's now CEO of Spectrum. He said the following: what was the return of investment of partnering with Schaub? Did he sell you back his shares? How do you measure impact of podcast sponsorship beyond code redemptions? Did Schwab really cure his kid's illness with the product, etc.? And the guy replies pretty honestly and upfront about it, right? He says the return of investment was great for the company. He brought in more sales and traffic than when we partnered with the CrossFit Games in 2018. And if you give a shit about CrossFit like I do, I've been a part of that community for a very long time. And CrossFit 2018 was popping. So the fact that Brendan brought in more traffic and sales to Pure Spectrum than CrossFit tells you everything about this whole podcast sponsorship advertising game. It's fucking wild. From March 2019 to March 2020, his code was used 9,880 times, but received a total of 12,298 referrals due to reorders. That amounted to about $348,000 in commission. Brendan Schaub made. So again, Brendan the Redact, Brendan the Liar, Brendan the Embellisher, Brendan the Unfunny, but still successful podcaster who basically got given a career on a silver platter by Rogan and Brian Callen. These sort of things are basically going to make you money forever. Like, you have to kind of understand it. That's why all these guys, that's why as much as I rag on Luis J. Gomez, I think he's a bit of a donut. I can understand why Luis J. Gomez is trying to suck off on Brendan so much, because he knows the difference it makes to be in Rogan's good graces, to be really one of his boys, because that association, that rub, that fucking cosign can make your life forever. Because Brendan likes to say about Dana White, if Dana wasn't friends with the Fertitta brothers, he'd be holding mitts or holding pads in a kickboxing gym. But that's actually Brendan Schaub's reality. If Brendan didn't know Rogan or Callen, he'd be in some, MMA gym somewhere teaching grappling. Because those guys gave him a career, and now they basically give him a career for life. Because even now that his network his friendship isn't as good as it was in the past, and he's not as funny, and he's more disliked than ever, he's still able to maintain his lifestyle with little to no real downgrade, really, in the most part. Why is it? Because this whole advertising podcast thing is just crazy. Number one, the amount of money they give people in the first place is just insane. And number two, sometimes people underestimate the reach and the fan base these guys actually have. It's pretty wild, which makes Tom Segura's rant against his fans even more funnier, because it's like, without your fans, you wouldn't be who you are. Do you know what I mean? And most of your fans are like working class, middle class people, and you're telling them to, like, I don't know, to stop crying and get rich. Anyway, continue. One of our large shareholders ended up buying back his shares. It's really hard to measure the impact beyond link tracking, but I do believe it's significant in that 2019-2020 time frame. Brendan really did use CBD to help his son with seizure free. I believe he used a different brand, however. The local shop first, then confirmed. Anyway, you get the point. So I think for anybody hoping Brendan's going to be desolate sometime, it's not happening anytime soon. All those guys that get brought in by Rogan, that get the cosign and all that malarkey, they essentially, if they don't kill anybody, if they don't I won't say rape because, you know, Chris is still around and Brian's still around and shit. But if you, as long as you don't murder anybody and you don't go to prison, and sometimes if you go to prison and come back, like, imagine, God forbid, but if Joey Diaz went to prison tomorrow for fucking murdering, what's his fucking name, Red Bar or something, right? He'd probably be bigger than he's ever been. His first day back out fucking podcast will fucking do crazy numbers. So I think sometimes, myself included, we underestimate just how big these guys are in their little niche. Do you know what I mean? And mostly it comes from the fucking Rogan cosign, because that Rogan cosign is a real, you know, changer of people's lives. Like, you go from being relatively okay to like comfortable for your entire life. You don't have to have a regular job at all, to a point where you can like quit acting and shit and just focus on doing podcasting. Like, it's a pretty mental thing. But yeah, Brendan pulling in these kind of numbers is pretty wild. But again, mention, you know, think of the story with it being an issue with his son. I'm assuming a lot of parents probably out there have issues with their kids with epilepsy and shit and seizures and all this malarkey. It's probably way more common than people probably think it is. And if you can have a solution that doesn't require having to go to doctors and stuff and buy expensive medicine, and it's open to you, and it's somebody that you kind of trust on the podcast, it makes sense why people will go to it. I mean, and get into it really, really hard. The only cringy thing about it was when I think the old CEOs or the CEO that ran the company before was trying to get people to like leave positive reviews for Brendan's You'd Be Surprised special, and they'd get like half off or something. It was like, it's some law about that it's just gross. Like, it was back in the day when Brendan was like, oh, everyone's haters and trolls and shit online, and they were trying to do this opposite campaign to kind of like, you know, rewrite the narrative, as Brendan would say. What you guys saying in the chat here? Blue Chew is better help. Crash, very astute. Blue Chew is better. That actually is a bit of a zinger, but very, 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 very true. Schaub said Schaub will be holding it with Tim Wilson. The Pope trying to get waggled these Tiger is gonna turn into someone like Herschel Walker's son, hating his fuff. Yo, Marty Booty to chill. Yo, big up and Crash. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for another great stream, AZ.
Thank you, brother, for tuning in. Appreciate you, man. I'll be back again later tonight, so don't stress if I missed anything out, because I still got to get through loads of chin stuff as well. So I'm gonna bang through all that stuff. So I just wanted to update you guys to make sure that you know I'm not dead. Tiger's gonna turn into that. 99% of the world won't know who he is though. Lols. This Red Bar baby jokes have make Sam Tripoli lose his mind. Yeah, but that's also crazy, man. Like, Red Bar goes too far with that sort of stuff. Like, I think personally, like, you just can't. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe that's the whole point of trolling. Because I think that's a part of me that also doesn't. That's the only bit of trolling I don't get. Sometimes. I think there's a part of trolling where you could just be relentless and just say the most unhinged stuff. But I think as men, which is kind of cringy to say, there's always a limit. And I think sometimes if the person you're trolling decides, hey, I've had enough now, I'm not going to go back and forth with you, I want to fight, you should be willing and able to kind of go there also. But some guys that troll enjoy getting you to that point. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they want. They want you to get to a point where you're threatening them with physical violence, because then they've won. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I just think if I was a comedian, I would either attack Red Bar head on, or I'd pretend he doesn't exist. But I wouldn't do the in between. That's what I'd do. I'd attack Red Bar head on if I was a stand-up comedian professionally. If he was like insulting me and say stuff about my comedy and my family and shit, and say my wife is nothing but a VM, a virtual merchandiser, a fucking Target or whatnot, you know what I mean? That's what I would do. I'd just attack him back. Or just pretend he doesn't exist. Like, just be so disciplined that you don't ever respond to anything. You literally just are like blinkers on. That's the only way to kind of deal with him, because the moment you let him know that he's touched a nerve, it's over. It's over. He does not stop. Like, your mom and you know, most of these stand-up comedians are fucking, you know, world champion narcissists and shit, and you know, attention seekers, so they can't help but like search themselves and check what people say about them, so they all know that he exists, and that just gives him so much power. You know what I mean? He must sleep with his fucking cock hard. Knowing how much he triggers these guys is fucking beautiful, man. Honestly, sometimes it's hilarious. Like Joey Diaz nearly threw it all away for Red Bar. Joey Diaz and he threw it all away. He literally threatened to kill him. And then he quit. And then he quit podcasting. He took Joey Diaz out. He took him out single-handedly. And what did he do, really? He didn't do much. He just mentioned that Joey might be back on Xanax before he mentioned it himself. That's it. That's all he said. He didn't even say that much. He just said this guy's probably back on drugs again before he actually, that's it. And he went crazy. Ah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ucha, I know. Fuck that. Yeah, I know. But that's the thing. Like, if you go on Kiwi Farms, if you go on, like, 4chan and stuff, there's just a level of trolling that there's no line. And those guys aren't meeting you up for a fight anytime soon. They're not fighting you. They're just going to troll you more. The more you get triggered, the more they troll. They don't care. There's no line. Your kids, your dead relatives, there's no line. Those guys are on another level, like really another level. So you have to play, you have to know what you get into when you play with those guys. Oh God, let me just play a couple more before I leave here. Bear with me a second. Oh, let's do this quickly. What do you think is going on with this hat? Brendan's bringing back this horrible hat they used to wear a lot. I think at the time when he used to wear it, I got the feeling that it was like a hat he wore to kind of make him look like he was into clothes at that time, right? There's like, oh, I'm a fashion guy, so you're wearing like tight jeans, you're wearing cowboy boots, and you got this hat on. It kind of makes you look like you know about your clothes, but it's just a peacocking thing. It doesn't really, you know what I mean? He wears them with weird outfits. Like the outfit he has this on with is strange because he's wearing this hat, but then he's got like a baseball jersey on. It's like weird, but anyway. So now it's come back out of the, because he kind of left it for a while, right? And people on the Reddit call it the soy boy hat, right? It's fucking hilarious. But I've got a theory that the hat has come back because of the new haircut he's got. He's got this new wannabe sort of like southern mullet thing going on that Theo's always had for a while, but it's now become like an in thing now. Everyone's kind of got a mullet in, like, I don't know if you've seen content creators and stuff, especially guys around Brenda's age. They're all kind of rocking the mullet. It's kind of like the new look everyone's kind of doing. And he's obviously doing it now to kind of also, I feel like, lean into the sort of like, you know, wannabe right-wing thing, because he's too pussy to really step out there and be right-wing, but he kind of leans into it by like, what's that song he talks about? You can't try that in my small town. He says that line again and again and again. He's always talking about watching Yellowstone and shit. So I think this is kind of, you know, with the mullet, with the hat, it's sort of like him sort of like, you know, signaling, hey, I'm with you guys. You know what I mean? What should call it, Trump 2020 or 2024, whatever he's always say, all that sort of shit. So that's probably why the hat's come back out. That's my theory. What do you guys think? Not the hipster hat, Z lows. When your kids play the closet, says Jan, exactly. Dalia made fun of his hair, so that's that. So his hats until it grows out. Oh, interesting, Mike Moose. That's an interesting theory. But usually he does that when he only does the hat thing when he's growing out. He wears beanies. He doesn't usually wear these, you know, these hats. So, but interesting. I don't mind the mullet craze. So look, yeah, the mullet craze I don't mind either. But again, it's Brendan just doing it because everybody's doing it. He used to take the piss out of Theo for it. That was part of the early premise of King and the Sting. Theo would take a piss out of Brendan for having a face like he stung a face bloated like he stung bees or whatever, the bee sting face, whatever he used to call him. And then Brendan's retort back to Theo would be, look at your hair though, look at your haircut, look at that mullet. So now that he's, you know, now things have changed, he's now adopting the same haircut they used to fucking insult thing about. So that's the only thing that's a bit weird. He's copying someone, counting it like the Leo. Yeah, exactly. So it's probably copying somebody. It's in anyway. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, he's wearing the hat again. And then actually, need to play a bit of this clip here. I think someone mentioned about Delia's saying he doesn't like his hair, innit? Let me see if I've got it here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there. This is the one. This is pretty interesting because I feel like for the most part, he doesn't really get negged like this by his co-hosts in general. They generally just tease him here and there, but they don't go this far. So it maybe shows that their chemistry is weirdly getting, even though the show is not great, maybe their chemistry is getting better and they actually are becoming closer as friends. Because I feel like in the beginning they wouldn't have ever done this because they know Brendan can be a bit thin-skinned, but maybe they get to a point where they don't give a fuck anymore. But this is Eric and Chris essentially razzing Brendan on his new haircut, because usually he wears hats and doesn't let anybody see it, but this time he sat down and took the hat off, so he's clearly, you know, feeling a bit proud about it. So let's see them responding to it. Give me a second there.
You have a weird fade right now, and you have the nerve to talk about hair. Okay,
bro,
that shit looks like you go like this at night. And you put it on the thing, and you're like, you know.
Bro, you have a Jerry curl on your fucking knuckles.
But I can shave this.
Can you?
This isn't a choice. You chose this haircut. That's
This isn't a
different.
choice.
You think I was like, yeah, give me the hairy knuckles? No, you went to the barber and was like, just shave the side and
give
leave
me
the top.
hairiest knuckles.
You went like this.
I'll take a Jerry curl on my knuckles, please.
You went like this.
You were like, can I get Patrick Swayze on top,
Hey,
please?
can you perm my hands?
The fucking it's kind of brutal hearing Brendan trying to like rebuttal back, but in general they clearly don't like the haircut. They don't like what it looks like. I think personally I'd be offended anytime someone that looks like Eric Griffin says anything about my appearance, even if it's Brendan Schaub. It's just not gonna sit right with me. Do you know what I mean? The guy looks like a bag of fucking mashed potatoes. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's built like a bag of mashed potatoes. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? It's just not gonna rock with me at all. It's just not gonna rock. Like, really. He probably has more, like, you know what I mean, hair on his arms than I do on my chest. And he's talking to me about fucking, you know, haircuts. And if anything, I think even, I'm not mistaken, I think his whole entire life, that Mr. Potato mustache thing he used to do, the Mr. Potato Head thing, he only changed it because of his wife. So he went through his entire life thinking that look was good. And then when he started dating his now wife, you know, he went to impress her and she said she had the stubble and he kept it. It's like, bro, yeah. I don't know. If I'm Brendan, I just wouldn't have it. But, you know, it's understandable why they aren't fans of the haircut. I get it. But if I'm Brendan, I'm like, yo, you cannot talk to me about appearance. You just can't. I'm sorry, bro. You just cannot talk to me about appearance. It's just not gonna run. Let me find another one here. Not that one. Yeah, this not this one. This one. Yeah, this. Let's talk about this one. This is a good clip too, because I don't know. For me personally, I feel like you should never talk about your friends in public the way you talk to them in private. So if you have a certain type of humor, a certain type of relationship with your friends that's kind of a bit, you know, it's always kind of edging on the side of personal, you shouldn't let that side of your relationship come out in public. It should be something you just say for your friendship. Like, if you joke a certain way, your friendship should leave it personal. I have a feeling that Brendan might be like secretly jealous of Theo Vaughn. I know this is not like a hot take, we all kind of think this way, but I'm now starting to really think there is a hint of jealousy in Brendan with Theo, specifically because of how he's been able to kind of schmooze his way into the UFC. Because, you know, Theo was never a UFC guy. If you remember the early episode of King of the Sting, when Theo used to ask Brendan about questions about his career in the UFC and what it was like, Theo always used to talk like from a point of fear. Like, oh, I hate fighting. That gives me anxiety. Like, he legitimately didn't like it to begin with. He thought it was really barbaric and shit. So the fact that Theo has now got into the good graces of the UFC and has now become a fan of the UFC, a friend of the UFC. Dana loves him. The organization fucking clearly loves him because they got him all over the content, and he's always at the fucking shows, and his tweets always go up on screen and shit. I think that kind of irks Brendan because he knows Theo never liked the thing, and now he's now doing the thing that he's doing better than him. Because this clip is giving big hater energy. This is supreme level of hater energy, in my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think this is strong hater energy. So again, big up the person for finding a kid, subreddit for uploading this, but Brendan is really jealous of fucking Theo. Super jealous of him.
Look at when, you know, if you look at Schultz, shit, 4 years ago, he never had an MMA. He never talked MMA, didn't have an MMA guy on.
Yeah.
Now he has, you know, the guys on. Chrissy D, you got freaking...
Even Theo started having MMA guys on. I think it's because of you, dude. You saved Rogan, but I'm pretty sure it's because of you. You're the actual MMA guy. You were actually in MMA.
Yeah. Theo for sure. Obviously, me and Theo are very close, so Theo got into MMA. Theo's posts, man, just still drive me nuts.
This is Twitter things?
Yeah.
You see, yeah. Here's a quick one. This is a little weird.
I don't know. If that's my friend and they're doing well, I'm not going to speak to you like that, speak about you like that in public. Maybe in private, I might say that. Oh my God, man, your tweets are so cringe. Look at you fucking sucking Dana's dick or something, right? As like a joke in person. But I'm not going to let that be known in public because it comes across like you're hating. Because we don't know the relationship. We don't know how you guys joke. We don't hear Theo talk about you that way. So it kind of sounds a bit one-sided. And he's always mentioning it. It clearly is something that obviously bothers him and gets under his skin. But a part of me, I think someone mentioned here, I think Crash did it, right? Yeah. Dana doing his bit to spite Papa. We all know, because as much as I dislike Dana as like a business person and leader at UFC with the fighter pay and stuff, it's annoying. But aside from that, we all know Dana is a fucking spiteful person, right? We all know he's a petty person. There's a part of me that also thinks, I wonder if Dana, as much as fucking Theo is amazing when it comes to UFC content and interviews has his fighters and his rapport with them and everything in general, I wonder if it's a part of Dana that purposely went out of his way to welcome Theo into the UFC family, knowing his relationship with fucking Theo, with Brendan, so, and knowing how much it will get under Brendan's skin. I wonder if this was like a masterful 4D chess move from fucking Dana to get under Brendan's skin by embracing Theo with open fucking arms, open door policy. Anyone from our roster you want to interview, you can. Changing room footage, go in and get it. Do you know what I mean? Your tweets always go up on the fucking big screen. You always get good seats. You don't even have to ask. I'm sure Theo's to a point now, he doesn't need Rogan to get tickets anymore. He gets tickets directly from them, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how in he's in. I wonder if Dana just knew that and purposely like, come on, Theo, we like you. Because he knows that it's going to get under Brendan's skin. Because Brendan is like, it really bothers Brendan that Theo is part of the UFC like that. And it's weird to me. I find it odd because you never really hear him celebrating, you know, Theo's wins the way he probably should as a friend. He's always coming across a little bit jealous that it's not him, or why is it him because he doesn't really fucking care about the sport, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I got a feeling Dana might have done this on purpose. So as much as Theo's doing well and he's done it himself through his hard work and blah blah blah, I also got a feeling Dana kind of noticed a good opportunity to just, you know, put another number up on the scoreboard against Brendan. Because, you know, let's be fair as well to Dana. Dana's got every reason to hate Brendan, especially if, you know, if what he said about them being fucking, you know, Eskimo brothers was true. He essentially outed Dana yeah, during their beef and shit. So Dana's got every reason to hate him. So maybe he's like, look, I'm going to kill you forever, but I'm going to do it subtly. And one of the ways to do it, I'm going to embrace all your friends, but not you. Because I've got a feeling Dana's this petty. I've got a feeling if Theo and Brendan ever went to a UFC fight night together, a live UFC event, I've got a feeling Dana would be the type to legitimately get Brendan escorted from that arena in front of everybody with Theo and leave Theo there. I'm sure Dana's that kind of person. He's that petty, he's that vindictive. He would legitimately let them both walk in, sit down, take their pictures, and get a security to escort Brendan out of the building. I swear to God he would. I swear. That's how much he hates the guy. So I don't know. Brendan is, I don't know, I get the feeling Brendan's jealous of Theo, though, which is really lame to see, to be fair, because the guy had every opportunity to be a successful, you know, MMA, UFC commentator guy, whatever, talking head, and he kind of fucked it really himself. So he has no one else to blame if now the whole content game and the whole, you know, thing around that has changed now, and people just want different types of things. They don't really care about having insights from maybe former fighters if they're not charismatic, don't have interesting point of view. You know, it's kind of changed. That's why maybe the Theo thing makes sense, because Theo, when he's speaking to his fighters, he kind of disarms them because of how funny he is, how chill he is. He doesn't really know that much about the sport, so they can actually have real conversations. So, you know, Brendan can't have those conversations because, you know, man's a bit redacted. So it is what it is. I think that might be it for now, and I'll save the rest for later. I think that might be it. Yeah, I think that might be it for now. I'm already 2:30 in. It's 7 a.m. Jesus Christos. So yeah, I gotta leave, get ready and stuff. So I'll be back later on tonight with more, and I'll recap everything else I missed out on, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all of you, everyone in the stream chat that you've been in here. Sorry for not interacting with the chat as much as usual, because I just need to rattle through all these things, so I couldn't keep going back and forth. But the next one, I'll be reading everything you guys will be saying and stuff. So apologies if I missed anything, any questions and stuff. Please, if you remember them, just repeat them later on tonight. But big up everybody in the stream chat. Appreciate you. If you're still here, please make sure that you like the stream before you leave. That'd be great. Appreciated. If not, maybe come back next time, and if not, thank you for being here. Big up everybody in the stream chat. Too many names to mention here, but I'm gonna try. Let me see who's in here. Let me go there. Does that work? Yeah, it does. Big up Aryan Privilege, Cheese Food that was here, Crash, Drone Adventures. We got someone called Growler Bro, I forgot how to pronounce that. Jared, of course, Malaric, big up you, big up my guy, big up Koila, Marty Moose, Uche, big up you, of course, same way, big up Jian, big up Z. Who else is in here? Because we said that, we said this. Yeah, big up Paris Bardo that was here earlier. Who else is in here? Many mentions to mention. Drone Adventures, I think I mentioned you already, and everybody else. So big up all of you for hanging in there. I appreciate you. I'll see you guys later in about 10 hours or something, whatever time that is, by the time I finish work, and then we'll kind of continue on. But for now, peace. Take care, my friends. Take care. Take care. Take care.